All right, guys, this is probably the biggest news that we've had about Tesla. Elon Musk just tweeted out just a few moments ago that Tesla Robotaxi is going to be unveiled on August 8th. We don't know what exactly this means, but this is coming fast and furious. This is right after this morning when there was a Reuters article written that says that Tesla scraps low-cost car plans amid fierce Chinese EV competition. And of course, it says, won't be built. Three sources told Reuters Tesla to focus on self-driving taxis instead. The strategy shifts as Tesla faces competition for Chinese EV makers, including BYD. What? What? What a stupid comment there. But Elon said Reuters is lying again. And then Sawyer came out and said, here's my general thinking. Tesla's low-cost $25,000 car and the Robotaxi were always going to be based on the same platform. They were going to be very similar, but the $25,000 version is going to have a steering wheel. Maybe Elon and the team have been so impressed with how good FSD 12 has performed, and we're maybe thinking they should be shifting even more resources to Robotaxi FSD. Doesn't mean the 25,000 cars canceled. Again, they share the same platform. That's the same thing that you, Jeff, tweeted out earlier. And then Elon gave him the googly eyes. And then Sawyer said, I'll take that as confirmation. So this is big, giant news, of course. Elon saying that Robotaxi is going to be revealed. What do you guys think? Let's start with you, Jeff.
Yeah, Tesla's developing a low-cost platform. It's gonna span probably multiple vehicles, and it wouldn't be a surprise or uncommon for them to have. They have this modular manufacturing, call it a kind of a block modular manufacturing method with this vehicle. So they're working on two vehicle types in parallel that can build off of the same platform. And with the manufacturing and the design approach, they can be very modular. By the way, I think they've always wanted this, especially when you're thinking about right-hand vehicles versus left-hand drive vehicles. And now you're talking about no drive, no steering wheel type vehicles. And so they've always been in this mode of like they're building a platform. I think this confuses people. I think people think like they can only do one thing at a time. And what Tesla is designing for at this price point is a platform that can scale. So this is going to be probably, in my opinion, there are going to be two vehicle types under development and available for manufacturing. And then, based on how mature autonomy is and how mature remember they have to develop the infrastructure for a Robotaxi as well. Like that's no small feat. So based on how these things mature, they can launch in different quantities, whatever they want, but they're developing a low cost platform. And I think that's what flew over a lot of people's heads. And I think that's what they're actually doing.
Whoa, what do you guys think, man? How big of a deal is this? I said it's the biggest Pablo's news. We came much earlier than we thought. Robotaxi Unveil, not just the model, the compact car, but Robotaxi. This is people are thinking the Robotaxi could be years from now, right? What? Volcanic. Go ahead. Tell me what you think.
I just love it. I mean, I got so many noises the last couple of days and short weeks that, and I try to keep it to myself. Obviously, I can't. I never can. But this is it. It's coming together. Remember, I told you, I think in two sessions of Cyberballs yesterday and also the one couple of weeks ago, the Cybertruck has a lot of things that needed to come to fruition because it will be needed for the Robotaxi. Steering by wire, 48 volt. And I still hope for the stainless steel. So I know I've got a couple of, is my mic low? Is it better now? Okay.
It's better now.
Okay, sorry about that. So I think the Cybertruck was already a good precursor, and the time it took to get it out, the time it takes to scale, but there was something to it. The hardware part was to it. Between August last year, when Elon did his drive in the suburbs of Silicon Valley and showed us for the first time end to end, and now it's a little more than 7.5 months. And in 7.5 months, we're at the third iteration of FSD 12. And every month there's a new one, if not quicker. So you could see the software side, they were getting so confident on it. And at the same time, you could feel there was a hesitation in advancing Mexico, advancing to commit to new sites. at the other sides of the road. You felt something was sort of blocking or having to make a decision. Was it going to be the 25,000 compact car Model 2, whatever you want to call it, that's going to be the priority, or are we ready for Robotaxi? And good Lord, we are ready. I can't believe it. I mean, August 8th, that's in 4 months. And not just with showing some pictures, it's the unveil. I mean, I just checked.
What do you mean by that?
Thursday.
So let's discuss that, because we don't know what this means, right? So I assumed that it meant that there's going to be a prototype of the Robotaxi car being unveiled. That's what's unveiled. But Jeff, what you were saying that we don't know what this is. It could be the Robotype business model. It could be the Robotaxi platform. I just think it's just the prototype.
Yes, I will crack a smile, TB. We don't. The answer is, Herbert. We don't know what's being unveiled. Obviously, when Tesla has done unveilings before, they've shown a vehicle in various forms of design maturity. That's going to be really important to understand, and it's going to be. And over the next period in time frame, there's people that are apparently have a very good ability to extract information out of the company. If we can understand, like, when this platform goes into some phase of design lock, to me, that starts a clock that helps me understand, or maybe helps others understand, when it goes into production, and it could be, within a year from that time frame. So I think that's really important. What stage of the again, I think an 8.8, if you're unveiling a Robotaxi, you're probably going to be unveiling, network infrastructure, kind of an interface, like the whole thing, and not just here's the vehicle. This is what it looks like to get inside. So that's going to be super interesting. If you've owned a Tesla over the last 10 years, I don't know about you, I'm fairly impressed with what they've been able to do with the app, the service, everything, how everything's modulated together. Now I just drive my car anywhere near a Tesla location. They know I'm there. They don't even need my key anymore they're doing things that are just way above and beyond what other people in auto are doing. So I'm assuming they have a team in the background that's developing this infrastructure and this whole approach. So I'm hoping for a pretty significant unveil. I think Elon also does this too, to kind of get some, not urgency, but just like show some finality to the team internally of like, look, we're unveiling this on 8.8. So we have to get everything wedged in and done, by this period of time. And then finally, I do think this is more of a 2025 production, start story. But I think Tesla understands, and they see what's happening in the marketplace right now. They see what's happening with their own FSD internally. They see what's happening in the marketplace now for autos. They understand that there's a shift and disruption that's coming, and I think they want to be the part of the key part of it and leading it. So they could be trying to pull some of this stuff in too. So it's really important to understand if we can pick up on some key terms of where they're at from a product maturity perspective.
Agree. And I think there are a couple of things that suddenly start making sense. Remember that charging pad? One of those pictures where we had the car charging in a garage, but there was a pad, and everybody thought, okay, so bring it. Well, they bring it for the Robotaxi. The other thing, remember Franz saying, what's the most exciting car you're working on? Well, it's the next one. This is it. So I'm sure we can go back the last 8 to 10 months and find so much. And for a while now, I've been thinking that August drive by Elon, that was so important. Remember, he was listening to Mozart, he was driving, the car was parking himself, he was explaining to us, this is the revolution. Everybody's, yeah, sure, another one, right? That's it. It's happening 7 months later. And if you think that was August last year, and this year, August, will have the unveil of a maybe prototype, but I do believe this is going to be a quicker production than everybody expects to. And I agree completely with Jeff. What's the most interesting is the business model. Is this an Uber type business model? Is this with partners? Is this Tesla by itself? Where will they start? Which urban city is it going to be first? This is so exciting. I can't hold myself. It's just absolutely.
Okay. Xander, I'm going to get you to talk about the stock, what you expect to happen. Let's catch up everybody who just joined us. So a few minutes ago, Elon posted this on X. He said Tesla Robotaxi is going to be unveiled on 8/8. I think the assumption here is that it's August 8th. The question is this the prototype of the car, or is it more than that? Is it the business model? today, this morning, Reuters published this article. I guess it was just this morning, a few hours ago. This is 3 hours ago. Said Tesla scraps low-cost car plans amid fierce Chinese EV competition. So right off the bat, that's dumb. Like, why would you scrap it? Because there's Chinese competition? No, you're doing it because of Robotaxi is going to take ahead. Entry-level Tesla car won't be built. 3 sources told Reuters. We ourselves, Alexandra and others, we've been hearing, obviously, from the back channel information. We knew that there was some talk about Robotaxis coming sooner than we thought. Tesla to focus on self-driving taxis instead. Again, this is dumb. Why does it matter? Why is it because of the competition? It's not that. It's because Robotaxi is further ahead than we realize. Elon said Reuters is lying again. He replied to that, shut that down.
Well,
go ahead.
Elon, I mean, he didn't say they were lying on everything or in detail. If you could put me back the Reuters screen, just one back. Where they are wrong is the compact car is not shelved. The compact car is still in the making and may see the day in different forms. This is not going to be just one car. The focus on self-driving taxis, well, we know that now because the 8th is an earlier date than the compact car. So yes, the focus has shifted from all in on the compact car to all in on the Robotaxi. Why? Because this is where Tesla has such a lead that the second place is so far behind you can't even see it, remember? And why wait for the Robotaxi? Why prioritize other things where you will have competition? You will have competition in the $25,000 segment by cars. They may be Chinese or not Chinese, you'll see. But why not put all your eggs behind the one thing where you are just so far ahead that nobody else can catch up? And the quicker you bring it to market, the more you discourage anybody else even wanting. I mean, just think about the Waymo's and the Cruises. I mean, of course, Cruise you don't think even more, but think of all the others today. They're discouraged for a good moment. And the other thing that really makes me happy is Gary wrote today, if that is really true, I mean, obviously it was only part of the story, institutionals would leave. Now, can I tell you, if this is the moment where I would like institutionals to leave, this is the moment we're going to vote to get out of Delaware and to come back to Tesla. This is the moment where we'll give 25% voting rights to Elon. This is the moment where there are so many important governance votes to be done. If those institutionals want to leave now, please do. Don't let the door hit you.
Okay, so let's continue on here. So this is after that happened with the Reuters article. Sawyer said Elon just said Reuters was lying. However, here's my general thinking: the low-cost $25,000 car and the Robotaxi were always going to be based on the same platform. They're going to be very similar. So the $25,000 version was going to have a steering wheel. That's the only difference. Elon and the team have been so impressed with how good FSD 12 has performed, and were maybe thinking they should be shifting even more resources to the Robotaxi. This doesn't mean the $25,000 car is canceled. They share the same platform. Elon replied with the googly eyes, and it sort of said, I'll take that as confirmation. So I was asking you guys, what does this mean when he said that? Does that mean that he supports it or not? But so the question, guys, is this, right? So he just announced that the Robotaxi Unveil is August 8th. And we all agree here that this platform is going to create multiple cars. We can have multiple autonomous vehicles. It can have the low-cost cars. It doesn't mean that they're not going to sell it, right? Because what's going to happen to the stock, though? Do we think that people are going to say, some people will go, oh my God, you're not going to produce a compact car anymore? The Robotaxi will take years. You're just going to be back to not having any sales. There goes the vehicle sales. And others will go, oh my God, Robotaxi is even here sooner. It's like 10 times more revenue. I'm going to jump in. How do you think the market's going to react to all this?
Well, I think there's a lot of people interpreting this and going into the Walter Isaacson book and just not understanding that Tesla told us like they were developing a platform, and if you've studied the Unbox model and you study what they're doing, they're going to have complete modularity in terms of this approach, where they're going to have that flexibility. They're going to have that ability to make late stage decisions. They're not going to have, they're going to have unbox lines, but those lines are going to be able to build multiple vehicles and do the kind of changeover that doesn't really exist in the auto industry today. Doesn't exist inside of Tesla today. So I don't think people are fully grasping what's coming, and they're trying to, and they're not, therefore some people may not be able to apply like what they're actually hearing, and they just think it's like binary, it's one thing or another. I was actually, when this news came out, I was literally writing a pretty long form tweet about how things are misunderstood. This is one thing that's greatly misunderstood about what Tesla is doing in their approach to developing this platform. They're doing it for late stage modularity, where they can make decisions and understand where to go. They're not going to pin themselves in a position, where they can't execute. So the low cost platform is a platform, and if they need to delete the steering wheel, the pedals, controls, and so forth, they'll have the ability to do that. So I believe that's what they're doing. I said that very early this morning, as soon as I saw the news, and I believe that's where they're going. I also just think that they're being misinterpreted, and some people are like, well, when these things come out, why doesn't Tesla have a PR team to refute it? The amount of writing that goes on about Tesla is just enormous. We're not going to debate PR teams here. It's not worth the time. And if CEOs and executive teams spent all their time debunking this, and I've been on the inside, I've seen this before too, about greater than 90% of what's written is just absolute garbage. And these are writers that are trying to get clicks, they're trying to get information, some nuggets of truth. So it's correct. Elon responded and said that Reuters is lying. We don't know about which parts they're lying on. It could be multiple parts of it. But what's clear is there could be multiple things here happening with them launching a platform and having the late stage modularity and ability to flex back and forth. And that's what they're doing. The other thing that's also true, that nugget, was Tesla is seeing a level of stability and improvement in full self-driving and in generalized autonomy that I think is going to surprise the world. And it's probably surprising them a bit too, in terms of how fast things are moving. And again, the proof is in the pudding. 3 or 4 releases in that short a period of time that go out to mass audiences tells you that there's a level of stability here and in this architecture that just has not existed before.
Yeah. Did you guys see what I just posted? Let me just do that. This was literally
What did
just
you
three.
post?
This is just 3 minutes ago. So Sawyer said the number 8 is considered the luckiest. Oops, sorry. So the number 8 is considered the luckiest number in Chinese culture. It's associated with wealth, prosperity, and success. Elon replied, 8 and the year of the dragon.
On
Absolutely.
the volcano.
It's an explosive year. 8 is a very lucky number. And then Warren Redlich said, Elon denies the story in 15 minutes. Gary Black still thinks Tesla needs a PR team. Elon appears to be denying the Reuters story, da 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 da. And then Elon
Yeah.
laughed.
And he's right. He really has to debunk both Ross and him. It's enough now.
But
I mean, honestly,
he did. Yeah.
and he did. And I'm so pleased he's doing it. Sometimes I feel like Gary and Ross are more difficult for us to manage than all the Tesla Q. Because Tesla Q, I mean, fair enough, they take short positions, they think what they do. But trying to constantly tell these people what we see and what they don't see, and then it's one thing they don't see it, but they keep going on and on and on and on about it. And I'm so done with it. I mean, obviously, Ross blocked me, so I don't see too much of it anymore. But it's about time they learn their lesson. I just hope they're all short, because Monday morning is going to be difficult for them, and then they may have learned it a little bit more.
What are you guys going to think when it happened to stock? Do you want to jump in, Xander?
Yeah, I mean, we're already seeing it. The stock is currently up 3.82%. It was as high as 4 point something. It went from like 164.90 close straight to 171 right now. So it's there's definitely excitement. This is why I was warning about an announcement can come. Don't leave your calls open. Not that I was giving financial advice, but that's what I've been doing. And I have no calls open. Very worried about this, because now you start, like, we're going to digest this weekend. What are all the analysts doing? These conversations are going to be happening where people are going to debate and try to make sense of what does it actually mean. So I just think that Elon made it very clear that they're willing. He was willing to drive margins down on cars down to zero because the entire purpose is to grow the fleet and have FSD and have this exact thing. So have robotaxis. And it seems like Elon was so pissed because I didn't. Like, did you guys see this announcement coming? I think it was just like he was so pissed off by Reuters that he announced it. They called the team and said, "Hey, when can we get this done?" Although it seems like
let's talk about that. He can't just say, "I'm going to do a demo on August 8th." Is that far enough that he can then tonight call his friends, his team, and goes, "Okay, I want you to do the actual demo on August 8th," or is it something that was already planned ahead of time?
We can only speculate on that one, but I can tell you one thing. If it would just be, here's a PowerPoint, I show you our business plan, it could be done tomorrow, right? The simple fact that it's in 4 months, there's still work to be done, meaning hardware work and software work. By then, we'll certainly be at least 3 iterations further in FSD, and there will be a car. I mean, at least one, if not multiple versions of one car. So there is a good reason why it's August 8th. And I'm sure, given this very important number game, 8/8/2024, Year of the Dragon and all that, this was in the planning. This is not just something that a Friday afternoon on April 5th, he thinks, oh, fair enough, let's do something in 4 months. So this has been in the planning. And I'm actually very surprised this is out today. Remember, we're in the quiet period. Between the 15th of March and until financials, nothing should be done. So that this comes out today, is major. They felt this had to be done now before the earnings call.
Do you think that there will be an application?
Yeah, I mean,
success on 8.8 would be, the app being emulated on the screen or in Elon's hand, him summoning a vehicle and the vehicle picking him up. He gets inside of the vehicle and he drives to another location. Or somebody on the team. I think that I would start there with like, that's what if I were in his position, I was like, this is what success looks like for 8.8. Let's figure out how to get there. And then it could be in something on the spectrum in between that and, showing the physical vehicle, having one ready, for on display. Again, if they went to RFQ on the low cost platform in December and January of last year, if you believe that reporting, it wouldn't be beyond the realm to have tooled up, get out of the clay portion and have tooled up prototypes, in the better part of this summer. So I think for me, success is the app is working, the business model it can be easily explained, maybe even partner announcements, who knows? But I mean, it could be the whole spectrum of these things, but really being able to do a demo of a robotaxi pickup, I just think it would set, the world on fire, given how scalable the platform is.
Hey, it's so good to see you guys smiling like this. This after what we've been through, these smiles are just priceless. Go on.
I just had my mind blown. Okay, so I'm sorry, I'm a little slow. Because you guys have all trained me to be so much more conservative. So I thought, okay, Tesla Robotaxi Unveil August 8th. I'm thinking it's got to be the vehicle. Okay, here's the vehicle. Look how it's designed, Robotaxi first. But now you made me realize, well, hey, if we got version 12.3.3 and by then it'll be even better, they're not going to just show you a Robotaxi and sitting there on this thing. They're going to have to show you, like you said, it's going to like an app. Like imagine a Steve Jobs thing where he pulls out the app, presses the button, and then it drives, and because they can do that. So you're right, Jeff. I'm now like going, it can't just be. It would be weird if it was just, here's the car, let me show you the whole business model later. They can actually call it in, right? That's gonna drive in. Like,
I mean, to me, that's what success looks like. And then it's some spectrum in between that and there. And if the phone hasn't been ringing to Elon up until this point, I can imagine the phone beginning to ring because he's obviously putting a tremendous amount of confidence in what he's obviously displaying a tremendous amount of confidence.
On the
wait. Explain that to me, because it's the opposite, right? If he announced that I'm going to have a compact car, if he announced a Robotaxi, which is what it did, a Robotaxi Unveil, why would then automakers want to partner with the Robotaxi? They're going to want to partner for the for the FSD for their own car.
Right.
Their
This
own
is
robotaxi.
displaying,
So,
but this is displaying confidence in FSD. This is well, you never know. There could be rideshare partnerships that form as well, because these companies don't have a real kind of active development effort on their own anymore. Some of them used to, and then you see some limited partnerships that are out there with various localized robotaxi. So the partnerships could take multiple forms. One is just, hey, Elon is so confident in FSD that he's announcing a robotaxi service and unveiling it on 8/8. So yeah, it could be the auto OEM partners who want to partake in that or want to partake in FSD for their own vehicles and their own vehicle fleet. Who knows? Maybe they want to build a robotaxi as well, and they want to use Tesla software and Tesla services to do it, so they can get their product in there. Or it could just be FSD, or it could be some of the current rideshare providers that don't want to be left in the dust and have their business models go
Gotcha.
poof in a couple of
you're
months.
right. Alexandra,
Also,
answer this question.
adoption.
Did Kathy Woods know something?
Well,
She's
I don't
been
know whether
buying
she
like
knows
crazy.
something, but she does have obviously a Tesla, and she obviously she has been buying
I
like
think she knew
crazy,
something.
and she has 12.3 on it, so she's been using it. And she did comment today on Sawyer's tweet saying that's exactly our theory, and I retweeted that one, reposted that one. So, but to get back to who is calling and
Whoa.
and why are people worried, there are a couple
What?
of things. First of all, with Robotaxi, FSD will become tangible, right? So there are only so many people that have tried FSD and that have been sitting in a Tesla, but now people will call a Robotaxi the same way they called it Uber, and they will be even more comfortable with it. So FSD will become something that just gets used and that people then want in their own cars. So yes, car makers should now call and a Tesla and say, look, we will need to have to provide this option because people will get used to this and will want this in our Fords or in our GMs. Will they do it? What do I know? The other thing is robotaxis will make a significant dent in the car market where families currently have 2 or 3 cars. They may only need one. Multiply that by all families in America and in Canada, that means less cars. And less cars means less car buyers. So there are lots of real economic consequences to this for people.
That's
who
why
at
the risk
moment
is
didn't exactly. But that's also where
it's
lots
risky
of people
for
so
Tesla
far,
to come out and say I've got robotaxi.
No.
if
not
it
when
doesn't if
not when you have a
it's
fleet.
risky if it. Okay, wait. If they announce an unveil, but then it won't come for 2 years, I won't be able to make lots of cars. Wouldn't people not buy? You know what I mean? Like the sale,
Herbert,
like the expectation
Who
volume
cares?
will go down.
Who cares? It's not about cars. It's about
Exactly.
It's just not about cars anymore. It's
Yes. Say that again. Keep saying that. It's true.
It is true. It is not. This is the day when Tesla should move
It's
out
no longer a car company.
of the consumer goods company into the tech field. This is the day.
Bingo.
If Wall Street
Thank you.
Wall Street would understand anything, this is the day. But there we are. I mean, and the other thing is when you have a fleet of 6.5 million cars worldwide, and you introduce robotaxi, what is your risk of osborning your car fleet? It's inexistent because your car fleet has FSD if somebody wants it. What you're making redundant is any car that doesn't have FSD. That is the thing that just happened.
Yeah. Okay. So do you guys think it's going to be a slow rollout? Like not a slow rollout, as in like one city at a time, or what do you guys think?
You know what? I think they're going to demonstrate generalized capability, and they'll say subject to regulatory approval and whatever that looks like. I know we've been talking about it on the show. I want to get back to this conversation of like the company is transitioning, because I think there's going to be a lot of noise in the system. So first off, I think everybody was surprised at the Q1 number. It looks like that may persist, and it looks like, to me, it's not clear. I think Elon actually said, though, before the end of the year they're going to unveil the compact. I remember we had this conversation, Herbert, before the end of the year, unveil the compact vehicle. I think he's made that announcement before, and now before the end of the year is now 8.8 for Robotaxi. So I think a number of things have changed, but I think we're actually witnessing Tesla's business model change right in front of our eyes. I think it's going to be noisy. You're going to have the non-believers that, right, you can ask valid questions about everything, like, is this going to work? How successful is it going to be? How many people really want to? There's already people questioning, like, what's the cost per mile? Is it $1? Is it a penny? And you're going to have all this, you're going to have noise out there, but the business model is changing. And Tesla and its leadership, Elon, have been on the forefront of these major industry changes before. So the question you have to ask yourself is, who are you riding with? Are you riding with the company and the leadership that said you need to build massive battery factories? You need to build a massive supercharger network. You need to have low cost vehicles under development, in the mid 2015, 2016 era, what they did. And we're still 10 years later, and no one, at least domestically, has that. So they've kind of foreseen these major shifts in the industry, and I think they're plotting out the next one, and they're going to unveil it. But I think it's going to be quite noisy. And with respect to, do people believe the business model, one, and two, what's happening to the existing business model as this one ramps up? How many units is Tesla going to do this year? So I think it's going to be it's going to be one of those kind of like jittery kind of takeoffs into the next business model.
But Jeff,
Okay,
that's
so,
why guidance never
just-
mattered, right? Remember when everybody was getting so nervous about guidance? Forget guidance. We're
Yeah,
changing
wait.
the world.
So this just posted by Tasha Keeney just a few minutes ago. She says this: pay attention to this. Clearly, today's reporting and subsequent market reaction was yet another sign that I think many analysts are not factoring in the autonomy opportunity into Tesla's bit price expectations. Elon just liked this. And then she said, we previously estimated robotaxis could account for roughly 2/3 of Tesla's future enterprise value. In fact, we're in the process of updating this work. Did this just come out, Alexandra? This new?
No, this is the
it's
old one. This is the
Okay.
old one. And what she's saying is 2/3 of the business. And I think why they will update it also is because the car business actually is not growing as quickly as they thought, right? The traditional car building business. So that's why the 2/3 could be actually off. So when you hear we're changing the 2/3, when you bring down the denominator, obviously the 2/3 suddenly have another thing. One thing, by the way, that I felt ARC was always neglecting was the energy business and the bot business. So if you only consider the car and robotaxi business, obviously 2/3 is not the right amount anymore. But there are two other much bigger factors that they're currently not considering. I mean, if you think about it, this company, this is just completely crazy, right? Up to this morning, everybody thought this is a car company. If they haven't gotten it by tonight, now they should understand it is an AI and IT company. But what is really happening, it's also an energy company, it's a robot company, and they're coming from all sides. And with their stupid Excel spreadsheets, Wall Street gets nowhere with it. I mean, they really have to do their homework this week, and I'm loving it.
Exactly.
I am loving it.
All right. So we just saw the announcement earlier. Tesla Robotaxi unveil on August 8th. Farzad, welcome. What's your interpretation about this?
T-shirt. The T-shirt.
Can we like
Nice.
go Farzad? Yes, that's what it stands for.
Yes, your baguette. Yes, your baguette.
Yeah. So what are we talking about? Did a news article drop or something? Like what's the big deal?
Okay. Yeah.
I don't understand what's going on. Yeah, come on now. Yeah, I mean,
Go on, dude.
okay. So did we talk about? And sorry for joining a little late. I was actually coming back from
no
Costco. I was in Costco when I saw the notification come
I
up.
was about to drive to Costco.
For Zach,
Smart.
it's a little hot. Okay.
Is it hot?
Little
Okay.
hot.
A little bit.
Okay.
Just a smidge.
Okay. Let me turn me down a little bit. Can you turn me down on your side,
Sure.
Herbert? Maybe.
I can do that. Keep talking.
How do I
yeah.
do this? Okay.
I gotcha.
Oh, here we go.
I'm
Mic
the
volume.
expert.
Okay.
There you go. You got
Sorry.
it.
The producer Herbert. Okay, so who's surprised by this announcement? Show of hands. Who's surprised?
It came a little early.
Okay.
Came early, dude.
Okay. Came early. That's how. So that's how I initially felt about the announcement, is that it felt like it felt early, and I really do think the Reuters article in a way, I think catalyzed Tesla to set a date for unveiling this thing in a way. And I don't know exactly why that is. It's just the timing is too perfect. Reuters comes out with an article which Elon says it's BS. Reuters is saying they're scrapping all the plans for the compact car. They're going with the Robotaxi. And then Elon's like, oh, guess what? Robotaxi on 8/8. Okay. Now, the way I'm thinking about this is different from the compact car. I don't think this has anything to do with the so-called compact car. We know that from the biography that there are two different platforms. That's one platform. There's two different cars, and there's potentially other cars as well. I think Tesla can get away with announcing the Robotaxi ahead of time because it's such a specialized use case, and the Robotaxi platform is not really geared to be purchased by everyday people. It's geared to be purchased by fleet providers. Right. And so if you're a fleet provider, you're somebody that needs to have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars of capital at hand to be able to purchase a fleet of robotaxis. I think this announcement reinforces how confident the company is about its self-driving solution now with the end-to-end stack, with the neural net end-to-end with version 12. I think the recent progress we've seen with V12 with 0.1, 0.2, 0.3. I think those that get in the car can feel that something is, the way I described it to James Dama was, it feels like everything has changed, but it's hard to believe because we've been waiting so long, but it's still like it feels real, but it doesn't at the same time. So this kind of adds even more hype train stuff going on here with Robotaxi. And with the reaction on the markets, I agree with Tasha's sort of commentary there. I think it's proof that the market is not thinking about the Robotaxi equation, because I think the market has shown a unwillingness to give evaluation to an AI company unless they have it in the P&L. And I think that's kind of what happened to NVIDIA. NVIDIA was talking about its ambitions with the H100s and all the different things that we're working on from an AI perspective, but they didn't really get the benefit of the doubt until they started showing up on the P&L. I think with this announcement, I think Tesla lays the groundwork for the market to get them ready to start thinking about the company as an AI company. But I really don't think they're going to start getting valued as an AI company until the first Robotaxi or the revenue from FSD being adopted by the current fleet, starts becoming a material part of the equation, and they can show clear growth from revenues from that perspective. There's so much to process here. I mean, for people that have been following the story closely for a long time, I think this had to come at some point. If the company has been touting this for this long and it's saying, hey, this is going to work and everything, this date had to come. This date at some point, it had to be shown. But I'm curious to see how the market values this in the medium term, because my gut still tells me this will be viewed way more as hype until the people start buying the product and they start putting it into the fleets and people start taking rides. That's the way I view it.
I have a new mission. I mean, to my Alice, I will really do what I can to get Tesla out of consumer discretionary and into tech, because I think that is overdue and this is the moment. And I think by hammering that to the Wall Street people, that's what they understand. That's the language they understand. Ooh. Oh, I had a electricity cut. Sorry about that. So, but I think that's another thing we need to get solved and move Tesla out of the consumer discretionary into the tech. I love this.
Farzad, can you talk a little bit more about, like, so you think that the market won't give Tesla credit for their direction? Like, do cars still matter? Or like, isn't this the moment where the market starts to understand that it's not just Elon or whatever, but the entire company focus has shifted, and it's really about we're going to bet the company on FSD, and here's the result.
Yeah, I mean, I think until the result is on paper with numbers, I don't think the market's going to give them any credit. I mean, if you think back to Model 3 ramp, right? So 2017, 2016, whenever that was. Many in the retail investing community for Tesla saw that it was a very simple math exercise. The operational leverage, 500,000 cars per year. It's very obvious that Tesla has a gross profit, a significant gross profit on their EVs. All they need to do is scale the business up high enough so that they're able to generate a bunch of net income. And but those retail investors gave the company the benefit of the doubt that would happen, right? And so between 2017 to 2019, nothing happened. And then post 2019, Tesla got the valuation once they ramped up Model 3 and they built Model Y on the same platform, which is also very profitable. And that's how they got the valuation, right? I just feel like in this day and age, I have a hard time seeing the market giving Tesla the benefit of the doubt. I think they're going to want to see the numbers materialize on the P&L. So like, for us, for us girls on this podcast here, we have high confidence that Tesla will execute Robotaxi. And because Robotaxi is such a game-changing technology and it's obviously so clearly valuable, it's very easy for us to give Tesla the benefit of the doubt and then do the math on what that Robotaxi network becomes, right? But the baseline from where we operate on is vastly different from the baseline from what other people operating on. And that's been my wake-up call in the last 12 to 24 months since I started doing this channel. As I'm talking to people, and that's why we call crazy. We're crazy people because we're giving the company the benefit of the doubt from an execution perspective, right? Now, opportunities come from people finding variables that no one else is looking at. And in my opinion, not investment advice, not financial advice, the variable of high execution and being able to make state-of-the-art technology become mainstream, which by default generates a ton of income, that's Tesla's core expertise. And so we think of it as electric cars, but I think the right lens of viewing it is through that. Is these guys know how to take state-of-the-art technology and make a shit ton of money with it. Excuse my French, sorry.
I agree with you, but I don't think they'll wait for August. I don't think they'll wait for August 8th. I don't think they will take that risk that we're at 175 levels and then there is this huge money-bringing business plan. I mean, they're stupid, but not all of them. So I do believe we'll have in the coming weeks, Morgan Stanley and others coming out with business plan ideas, how this will work. Obviously, we will on our side, and this will start filtering into the market. I mean, I still hope we have some buying opportunities, but the under 200 days will be counted. I don't think that's coming. They're not that stupid to wait for August 8th. No.
Okay. But I mean, I hope you're right, but I don't think it matters anyway, because the opportunity of the business is so dang crazy. It's so unbelievably. I mean, we are rewriting the rules for transportation here. This is not like, oh, look at this cool parlor trick. No, this is like you are redefining what it means to have a point-to-point solution for one of humanity's greatest wants and needs, which is the ability to move around the earth. And you're completely changing the unit economics of what it means to do that. This and I don't know why, I don't know why that's not obvious to everybody, but it is what it is. We'll all look like idiots for 5 years, and then hopefully we don't. That's been the Tesla story.
That's one of the things I've noticed in this whole conversation about Robotaxi is people think a cruise vehicle and a Tesla compact vehicle are comparable, or some of these robotaxis you see in China that are being teleoperated. People hold all these things to be equal, and they actually don't understand the business model. They don't understand the actual operational model, and they don't understand the technology that's behind it. They just say, well, they have a road, so that's a robotaxi. Well, no. And there's a difference between something that can scale both from a volume perspective and an economic perspective. And I just think that point is lost on most. It's still going to be lost on people, by the way, even after this.
100%. 100% agreed. Like the four variables that someone has to come out with to be able to compete with what Tesla will do is they have to make an EV that let's say that people want almost becomes a stupid variable, but let's keep it in there. They have to make an EV that people want at a profit, at scale, that can drive itself. There's 5 distinct variables that other people have to play on to be able to match the level at which this company will end up at in the next 12 to 24 months. And anyone who doesn't will either have to license or die. Is that simple?
Yeah, and we're still at a point today where it's not clear that there's another company that profitably builds an EV today consistently.
BYD's the closest. Yeah.
The closest, and we're not clear that they're even doing that consistently with this 300 print quarter. So anyway, it's just interesting what stage of development everything is in, and how kind of nascent it is, and how far along Tesla is. And the question is their ability to put this all together and to get it into production. I think we're on a new paradigm. I keep going back to, since we've switched over to the version, I think just we're on a different paradigm in terms of speed, in terms of progress. So I'm going to be interested to see what they're able to demonstrate.
Okay, so earlier we had Elon announce that Tesla Robotaxi is going to be unveiled on August 8th. And so we've been talking about that. We've got Cern Basher here. Cern has been doing deep dive business model analysis of what Robotaxi could do to the business. Cern, welcome, and walk us through some of your slides here.
Well, thanks for having me, guys. I'm honored to be with this group of folks. And I'm kind of sorry that I'm breaking out this t-shirt today. I had this made a few months after Elon responded indirectly to a tweet that I made. He commented on a comment that James Dalma left. And his comment was, "You understand, but few do." And he was speaking about the Robotaxi network. This is back in July or August last year. This is the first time I've worn the t-shirt. I'm breaking it out because I think it is clearly time
Looks good, Cern.
to start wearing this. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, this is what we've all been talking about for a long time. And the implications of this cannot be overstated. Maybe the crazy numbers in some of my models don't come to fruition for a long, long time, if ever. But still, this is a material change to the nature of what Tesla is and what Tesla will be. And for all those people that have cared about quarterly deliveries and production, I'm sorry, that's not relevant. And I know you guys have been saying that. I'm echoing the same thing.
Let's go through your slides.
Yeah, help me out, Herbert, in terms of pulling these up. I'm not exactly sure.
Yep. Which one do you want to go with first? Do you want to go with this one or the other slide deck?
It's up to you.
Let's start with this one and just explain this one in a high level of what's going to happen to the company market cap.
Sure. I mean, this is kind of a nice picture, and this is a bit stylized. It's not, it's not perfect, but the company clearly is moving from an auto-driven business, one where they sell a vehicle, they earn a margin, and you got to keep doing that to make money, to a company that is powered by AI software, whether it's in the vehicles, whether it's in the bots, and whether it's in the energy storage systems. The auto bidder software is AI powered. That changes the business model of a company to a product, from a product company with relatively low margins to a software-like company with very high margins and recurring revenue. That is a game changer in how Wall Street values business. And so this chart is showing the potential business value, not revenue, not profit, but business value, and how that changes the company in terms of the percentage of the value of the company ascribed to the different portions of the business. And you can see over time, as Robotaxi takes hold and as bots take hold, that this truly becomes an AI-powered robot company. 90%, I think, of the value of the company ultimately will be in those areas. I know that ARK Invest right now says about 2/3 will be Robotaxi business. They have yet to include bots in their model, and they probably yet to include the AI-powered, software in terms of the energy business. So it's probably going to be 90-95% of the value in those areas. So these charts were just sort of showing that transition. I think the first one really covers it nicely. And actually, Herbert, if you go to the very end, it's kind of another way of showing it in a stylized way. Sorry, there's a lot of slides here. I tend to get carried away with charts and slides.
Oh my God, how far am I going to go here?
There you go. That's it. It's another way of looking at it. The humanoid bots is even bigger long-term than Robotaxi, but for now, let's focus on Robotaxi. It is much bigger in terms of revenue, profit, and business value than the existing businesses that drive Tesla today.
This is beautiful. We're in the auto business. This is the market cap or the potential for Tesla in the auto business. Energy is supposed to be a little bit bigger than auto, but Robotaxi and bot are just dwarf it, right?
But CERN, where is the line in your spreadsheet? I'm sorry, I'm joking.
Where's the demand coming from, right? Yeah. Yeah, I know you want to see a demand equation. Yeah.
Yeah, and what's the guidance, CERN? Tell us the guidance.
The guidance is up and to the right.
Okay,
Yeah.
Go ahead. Keep going, buddy.
So really the vehicle just becomes a vessel for what you can put into it. In this case, it's AI-powered software, which is FSD. It's also entertainment. It's also all kinds of other applications that we can't even imagine yet. But clearly FSD is the one that we're all focused on. And that's a game changer. And we've all seen the videos over the last few weeks, and we've experienced it ourselves. I had a drive last night in my vehicle. It's amazing. And I can only imagine where it will be in a month, 2 months, 6 months from now. The progress of innovation has just been staggering after a long period of slow progress. I won't go through all these charts, but just to show folks that how the profitability of Tesla changes. Right now, when they sell a vehicle, they make in gross profit between $7,000 and $15,000 a vehicle. That's great. That's really nice for an auto company. And right now they're at the lower end of that, right? But it's still pretty good. But you go to a Robotaxi world where now you have recurring revenue on that vehicle for the lifetime of the vehicle. And this chart looks at over just a 5-year period. Let's say a Robotaxi only lasts 5 years. Then you're looking at, if you're selling EV, the net profit might be between $5,000 and $10,000. But for a Robotaxi, depending on the model, if it's operated by a fleet or an individual owner, Tesla might make between $50,000 and $120,000 over a 5-year period. So if you want to continue to value this company as an auto company, go ahead, right? Go ahead, but that's not what it's going to be. And hopefully on August 8th, we see that in terms of what their plans are, and people will begin to understand that much more clearly. Now, on the far right side is if Tesla goes alone, then the profit opportunity is much greater. Now, I don't believe that they'll have vehicles making $125,000 to $285,000 over a 5-year period. I think what they'll do is drive down the pricing, because that accelerates the mission, right? And they'll make a lot of money in the progress, but probably won't be these numbers I show on this page. I'm just trying to compare across the board using the same numbers here, but ultimately going it alone is the most profitable way for Tesla. And particularly if there ever is competition, then they will have to go it alone on an ever increasing basis. But initially, I think there's a really nice opportunity for individual owners because we have the cars, the fleet is in our hands. And then subsequently, it's probably more professional ownership, the Hertzes of the world, perhaps Ubers, companies like that are used to operating fleets. I think that's maybe a medium-term opportunity. And longer term, it's Tesla only. They really should at some point stop selling vehicles and just keep them for themselves in their own fleet.
Don't say that.
Why?
Because I love my car.
Tesla, you love your stock.
Mission,
you love your stock and the mission.
But I love my car too.
You're going to make so much more money. It's ridiculous, right? It's $100,000 per year per car in perpetuity. Well, 10, 15 years versus making $17,000 profit one time.
Well, it wouldn't be that. Just let me be clear. I'm not projecting that's the kind of money that Tesla will make. I think they would be very aggressive in driving down the cost per mile in that Tesla only scenario. So I'm just showing that apples to apples, that's what it could be if it's the same pricing as the fleet or the owner operated vehicles. But I don't think it would be. I think they would drive down the pricing so that it's, 45 cents a mile or something like that. But that's not near term, that's longer term.
Does anyone remember the Elon tweet that says that it'll be like the biggest revenue unlock
Yeah.
in history?
And the most valuable
touch on that?
company in the world. Can you see
When
it? I
autonomy
can
is
see.
solved, right? It was
Yeah.
regarding autonomy.
Yeah, and you know what? It also unlocks value in all our existing Teslas because you're turning a depreciating machine now into a potential money-making machine. This is something that Herbert and I have talked about as well. So if your vehicle is FSD capable, not even if it has FSD purchased on it, but just FSD capable, there's a value unlock to the existing fleet. So that's also an interesting thing because the minute that Robotaxi network is available for use, our vehicles become money-making machines. And these are just some rough numbers in terms of depending on how long the vehicle's in the fleet, what the multiplier is. And I'm assuming that FSD at this point costs $500 a month, right? Maybe it'll be much less than that. I hope it is. But even at that level, where you're paying out a decent amount of your profits back to Tesla, the value unlock in existing vehicles is pretty impressive.
Love it. And I just saw a comment where somebody said, what happens when the cameras are dirty or muddy? I always refer back to the Cybertruck. At Cybertruck, they solved that because now there is a little wiper system in place that cleans them.
And a
Yeah.
very
Welcome,
big
Nick.
wiper.
Yeah, welcome joining
Welcome,
us. Appreciate you. What's your reaction to the news?
This just made Q1 earnings a lot more fun.
That's
my first
You're
thought.
worried about keyword earnings. Yeah.
Yeah. No, this is just fascinating. I mean, I started texting Elon's post to a whole bunch of people, and just the texts were like, "What? This is actually happening?" And it just opens up the aperture for just even more questions. Why now? Why 8.8? Were there some legitimacy to the Reuters? Maybe not legitimacy, but was it just a game of telephone? What are the implications? What does Unveil mean? When does it happen? I mean, I'm sure you guys have, I'm just jumping on now, I'm sure you guys have dove into all this, but just the stream of questions are just limitless. So I'm gonna have to go back and see what you guys already covered. But yeah, my initial thoughts are just questions upon questions. And
Well, let me ask you this question. Yeah, when you saw this, Tesla Robotaxi Unveil, Robotaxi Unveil on 8.8, do you think that it's just the vehicle, or do you think that it's an actual business model? Do you think that they're going to go and actually show you a car picking you up as a demo?
I mean, that's a good question. I think this lends itself a lot to what we've been hearing from a lot of the internal engineers. They've been, I would say, rather bullish and outspoken about it, and we don't see that. We never see that, right? So yeah, I mean, I would imagine if they're going to do this, they're going to probably maybe this is the AI day. I don't know. But I would imagine they're going to put a little bit of a show. You hear echo when Herbert was speaking. Oh, that was me. Okay. I'll mute whenever Herbert's speaking. But yeah, no, I think, yeah, I would imagine they're probably going to put a show, give a model for it, help us think through this. I'm more curious about why 8.8, why Infinity/Infinity was I'm always trying to see, I think Elon likes to play games, so I thought that was interesting. And then why that date? Why say it now? Why this early? I don't know. I just have questions.
Yeah, or is it even Herbert? Is it even a vehicle that's revealed on 8.8, or is it the service? Is it the app? Is it the service? And is it a driverless Model X, Model 3, Model Y? It's interesting. It could be a number of different scenarios here.
So Elon said Robotaxi Unveil on 8.8. Then he said, Sawyer said the number 8 is considered the luckiest number in Chinese culture. He goes 8.8 and Year of the Dragon. And then Omar just said, does that mean that maybe that it's going to be released in China first? Which again, I think we're reading way too much into this, but I don't know. It doesn't make sense for it to be released in China at all. So it's just a fun comment, but
Yeah. I wonder, as we've been sitting here thinking, I'm in my mind, I'm like, okay, a compact vehicle is under development, the hardware. At some point, they're going to get the design lock, and at some point, they're going to have the ability to ramp this thing next year. So what are they going to unveil? But if it's they could be unveiling that vehicle and what it's going to be, but they also could, and they should be, hopefully unveiling the Robotaxi, the service, the app, the business model, and that could go live earlier on potentially existing Teslas that are equipped with hardware 3 and hardware 4. That's an interesting question. Of others have thought through that scenario. I mean, you don't need a vehicle without a steering wheel, without pedals to have, Tesla's Robotaxi service live. It could be the existing fleet today that has the ability to be lit up. Did I just stun people in the silence, or?
No, you did not. I was just thinking this through because I'm very critical to the fact whether non-Chinese FSD cameras will be allowed to operate in China, and vice versa, that Chinese-built cars with FSD capability will be able to drive outside of China. So I don't think Omar is right on this one. I think Year of the Dragon was just a reference to this is this year, this is not next year, whatever. This is happening now because we are in the Year of the Dragon. Dragon is a very, symbolic symbol. And I don't think this means it's going to go into China first. I think it's going to be in America first.
But there's a solution for all those. So the source or the country or continent source of the Robotaxi network can have its own network infrastructure, its own set of data, and they could be appeasing those local regulators for that same thing in Europe as well. The data doesn't necessarily have to travel outside of whether it's the Eurozone or whether it's China. They could set it up, and they probably will set it up there and for better performance as well. And the same thing with a Chinese built Tesla is a Tesla vehicle. They're already out there today, and the cameras are already out there working and capturing data today. But that data is going back to Tesla, and then again, any of those local regulators can work with Tesla to regulate like where that data goes. So I think it's an issue. I keep going back to just now that I think of it, like, is the Robotaxi service going to be ready well in advance of this actual physical vehicle being ready? And like, is there actual staggered things happening here of a service, of the software, FSD performance, the network infrastructure, the Robotaxi network, the app, the ability for Tesla to monetize this ahead of the actual physical Robotaxi vehicle?
Great question. I'd like to point out that FSD is now called supervised.
And what does that mean?
What does it mean to you? To me, I see rolling out the app and allowing FSD owners to jump on and supervise the FSD. You don't need level 3, level 4, level 5, all of that. That's the what if. I think we talked about that on the Cyberbulls spaces. That's what I see. I don't think you have to wait. Just let me go take my Cybertruck and get paid to give people rides and bring people into the brand. I'd do it.
Yeah, I don't see any reason at this point you don't need to have a Robotaxi to start a Uber type platform. You could start it now, start seeing it, learning all the hiccups that you're going to inevitably come along with, start getting some data. I think, Søren, I've heard you talk a few times about how Uber has, stalled all this already, but they have the data, so you can start doing that now. And you could just gatekeep it, meaning you can only be in this if you're using FSD, right? And if you're not using FSD, then you're not in this, and revenue share and all that.
Yeah. Could there be a partner in the background? And could this, we were talking about FSD licensing and an auto OEM partner, but could there be a rideshare partner in the background where this extends the useful life of a driver, where this extends, it changes the cost per mile for the Ubers and Lyfts, and do they want in on this? These companies were at some point in their history working on their own autonomous driving platform. So, and they've done some limited partnerships with some other localized robotaxi services, but I'm wondering if that phone is ringing yet, or is it already in progress? That would be interesting, because you would start, as Xander said, you could start today again with somebody behind the wheel, and then the car doing all 99.9% of the work. And it doesn't have to be like there's somebody not in the seat anymore for it to be like, it's like you could actually impact the business model, and you could change the cost per mile even with somebody in the vehicle today by extending their useful day and their useful life of the work that they do.
I seem to recall Kathy Wood mentioning not too long ago that Tesla would start a robotaxi network with human drivers.
Yes.
So if that's the case, then it would make sense for Tesla to not build this from scratch. Uber, Lyft, others have spent years refining their network, their process, software. It would be maybe a smart leap to work with one of those partners.
And they have all the data. They have all the data on their customers. They have all the data on what people are willing to pay. They have all kinds of data, and they could be a captive partner too, because the carrot could be in terms of like Tesla, like, do you want to work together on this? Because we'd love access to your data, your customers, and so forth. And you can help scale this with, co-branding with Tesla. Or if you don't want to do this, we're going to do this on our own. And we could be peeling some of that pie away from you. So these conversations and negotiations are going to be fascinating, to be a fly on the wall of what could be happening here over the next period of time. Would be fascinating.
What do you guys think about what is it? So this is going to be designed by Franz. He's been working on it. This is not the design per se, but it's going to be a robotaxi first design as opposed to the Model 2 compact car. It's going to be completely different, guys. I mean, that's what they're hinting at, right?
Yeah, in terms of the hardware.
Yeah. Let's welcome Kevin. Thank you so much for joining us. Do you have a different opinion than the other folks here about how important this is?
No. Don't even start with that. Kevin, could you admit that I was right this morning, please? Please.
Oh, which part?
Please?
There were a lot of replies.
Just start with that. Just say yes, Alexandra. That'll be
Boomer Mom was always right. I actually
That's
appreciate
good.
everything that you say, and really everybody in the community. Y'all are great people. Like, everybody's awesome. Everybody still thinks I'm short. Like, I've been short for a very long time. Like, I go and make a lot of these day trades or whatever. It's like,
And I was thinking, you still have
Tesla.
to wait 8 days. You still have to wait 8 days before you can back in, right? Because you did that 30-day tax window. You're gonna
Exactly.
regret that. You're gonna regret that. You're gonna regret that. I have no idea. I'm just rubbing.
Yeah, the thing to remember too when it comes to tax trades is first of all, even if we rebought today, we're still buying at a cheaper price today. But even if it goes up, remember, you've got on a tax trade, the stock could go up like 30%. You're still making that difference when you're taking a tax loss harvest trade, right? Especially if you're offsetting gains on something else. So anyway, I guess to jump in on sort of the conversation, I mean, this is what everybody's been investing in Tesla for, right? Like, this is the future. This is Elon's vision, is a full self-driving vehicles that, frankly, nobody is driving. You're just riding in. And obviously, this is a vision that a lot of other companies have been focused on as well. One of my favorites that I like sort of watching is what's happening with Zoox, mostly because I'm watching them from a regulatory point of view. And I think that might be missing from the conversation here. I actually have this concern that the biggest hurdle on Robotaxi isn't going to be FSD. It's going to be regulation, because you look at, these Zooxes and the Waymos or whatever, and you're geofenced to either San Francisco or Las Vegas or Phoenix, Arizona. Zoox, for example, is limited to 35 miles an hour and only around their headquarters. So getting the DMV, let's say, in California and Vegas and Florida and Texas, to really say, yes, we are going to give everybody the opportunity to have these vehicles drive themselves around, especially older model vehicles that we already own, that's where I'm extremely skeptical. I think that's going to take
let me jump
5
in
years.
there. Let me jump in there because I think you're missing part of the story. First of all, in 40 out of 50 states of the United States, full self-drive is currently allowed. In 40 out of 50, okay?
You can do the trials, that's the thing.
There are states that have, on top of it, expressly allowed it. Florida is one of them. Nevada is one of them. There are places where it's going to be more difficult, yet there are ideal places to start off with. A robotaxi network in New York City is going to make a lot of money. A robotaxi network in Las Vegas is going to make a lot of money, and it's straight away doable. Miami is straight away doable. Austin is straight away doable. Los Angeles and San Francisco got the licenses for Cruise and Waymo. They will get the ones for Tesla as well. They will start with urban areas for sure, because that's where it's going to be the quickest adoptable. But I honestly think that once the statistics are in that these are safer than human driving, this is going to be a wave. And it's already a wave in China. It's already a wave in China. Robotaxis exist in China. They are not of this caliber and of this quality, what we're going to see, but the whole concept already exists.
So this is where there is a missing gap in what you've mentioned. These approvals are for the companies doing tests, not for consumers operating their own fleets. I feel, unfortunately, we're probably going to have some kind of taxi-style licensure or FSD-style, like robotaxi licensure that'll be required, that'll be actually similar to what you see in aviation, where if you want to have a car yourself with some kind of autopilot or fly your own plane, as an example, cool. Here's an easy kind of path to licensing. It's not that hard. You want to carry passengers, the licensing likely be substantially
Uber
harder.
has solved that. That problem
it's
existed.
possible.
It
But
is
you know,
possible.
the reason
It's
that's
even
solved, the reason that's solved is because you have a human driver there, not a supervisory a group of individuals running a company. You've got each individual driver who's taking responsibility, and then they're insured by their insurance. So it's a little different than going to that robotaxi. So when you say we have FSD approvals, I agree with you. For testing, we do absolutely. For now, all of you in this conversation, including me, to say, all right, 8/8 of this year, my FSD is now a robotaxi, and turn it into a $100,000 a year profit center. I just think it's highly unrealistic. I don't think we're that close yet.
Well, I
And
think you
when
missed-
it does happen, the price will compress instantaneously. In fact, Brett, he had a great piece. I like what his thoughts are on mileage and how you could maybe split the mileage 50-50 with Tesla. Talked about maybe $1 per mile of revenue. I'm not convinced. I think that's going to be a fraction of revenue per mile, but it could still be very profitable for Tesla. In fact, if you look, a few hours ago I tweeted it, I said even if you only got paid 1/100th of what Brett projected, you'd still make 50% more revenue per year than Tesla makes today. So it is still a win for Tesla, don't get me wrong. Like, this is a fantastic win for Tesla. I am personally just concerned about how soon that becomes realistic, that's all.
Well, they're currently doing it for commercial trucks, and I give to you that it's still the test phase. For the test phase, it's easier, but the commercial trucks with full self-driving capacity are allowed to drive cross-country in 40 states, right? The other 10, they have certain limitations. So it is not as if you now have to bag each individual DMV. Yes, each individual state can now suddenly come up with restrictions, or they may come up with taxation. I do believe that's the case. I'm sure that that they want to have a piece of the cake, because now suddenly it's not an employee paying Social Security and other things anymore. Now it's suddenly nobody paying anything, and I'm sure they want their piece of the cake. But other than that, I don't think the hurdles to get to full self-driving are that high anymore. They would be if it wouldn't work the way. But you got 12.3 on your Teslas, don't you, Kevin?
I do, 12.33. And I will say, by the way, the revenue potential is actually an incentive for regulation to advance. And I actually think the regulators are fans of Tesla. A lot of people don't think that, but remember what happened with NHTSA when they asked about Elon mode and they investigated Elon mode, and then we got that annoying late version 11-something update that introduced that ridiculous nag. NHTSA actually suggested, hey, what did you learn from having a system? They didn't suggest it. They bluntly stated it in their document, in their filing. What did you learn from having a system that didn't require the driver to have a nag? They didn't immediately fine Elon or suggest that he had done something wrong. They actually asked him, what did you learn from this? This is a sign to me that the regulators are actually on board with
bigger one.
guys,
I have a
guys, I want to show this this article that Alexandra's referring to, because I just did a show on this. So this is an article written by Washington Post, I think it is, but it says here, by default, driverless passenger vehicles and trucks can ride anywhere in the United States unless a state explicitly says they can't. That means companies can test and operate their vehicles across most of the country. 24 states, including Texas, Florida, Arizona, and Nevada, specifically allow driverless operations. This is not just testing. This is, you can go ahead and do this, compiled by Aurora, while another 16 have no regulation specific to it. It's actually these 10, California and New York just started, where they then created limits on autonomous vehicles within their borders. This is, and then in fact, the look, you can see here that even the Transportation Department supports this. The Texas Department of Transportation, they are supporting the development of this, because I see that semi specifically, there's many semi companies that are wanting to do this. It will improve their economy. And NHTSA says here, NHTSA, they've been working on more 5 years on a proposal to create a safety guardrails for autonomous trucks and vehicles. But it's not so your default allowed to go ahead and launch an autonomous vehicle platform if you wanted to, because they will use the same regulation that exists today. It's the complete opposite of what we all thought it was. It's
exactly,
actually
and I recall very well an interview with Transportation Secretary Buttigieg on CNBC about 6 months ago, where he was asked this exact question, and he said, "Well, it's very complicated because, in fact, state-wise, it's the DMV who is in charge of the car, and NHTSA is in charge of highways. So the driverless cars for them is sort of in this empty space where they don't really know the regulators who is now supposed to do something. So NHTSA is rather pro and obviously is pro Elon. I agree with that, because remember when Dan O'Clown, my Santa Barbara neighbor, had his latest fit during the Super Bowl, NHTSA came out immediately and told him that he was in infringement of his rights when he cited them in the wrong context. So I agree with Kevin on that point, that they are actually pro Tesla and pro Elon. So the question is actually state-owned DMVs. And as we just saw, there are only 10 states that are currently still making this difficult. And you're completely right, Kevin. Once they have understood how they can tax it, because that's it, they will be incentivized to get it through and get it approved. I am not worried about regulators. They are now going to fight for their tax dollars. That's the only thing they're after.
Well, Kevin, can I ask you this question though, right? So Elon just announced they're going to unveil the Robotaxi on August 8th. They've been working towards Robotaxi. Version 12.3.3 is looking fantastic. It's looking like it's a path towards there. And then there's people like you saying, hey, just watch out. Regulation's going to take forever. Don't you think that Tesla knows how long it might take, whether this is legal or not legal? What's your thinking about that?
Well, I mean, there are two parts there. I think let's analyze this sort of from a first principles point of view. If somebody tomorrow said, here's a vehicle that with 100% certainty will not crash. It's impossible. A bubble forms around it, and it's impossible that it hurts anyone, whatever. Then I suspect there would be zero barrier at all to approving such a vehicle, because it's impossible it could hurt anybody. And if anything, it would reduce death and injury. So that's one extreme. Then we have where the other extreme, which is experimenting with an FSD platform that isn't perfect. We're chipping curbs with our tires, we're running red lights, and we are causing problems in edge case scenarios, right? Those two things are very, very different. If we have a perfect robotaxi with perfect software, absolutely no regulatory hurdles. If we have, like somebody else mentioned earlier, a situation where we still need a driver in the front seat, well, then we're really just Uber the way we are today, and it's Uber Tesla, right? So then we really haven't gotten anywhere. So the question is more so, how long is it going to take to actually get to that level of perfection where the regulators are like, duh, this is way safer and there aren't weird edge case scenarios that are causing problems? Because remember, Chevy Cruise, or was it, who was it? What was the company? It was Cruise, wasn't it? The Cruise, the company that was doing the self-driving, and they sort of didn't cooperate with investigators after they hit a
Yeah, that was
person,
Cruise.
and the car actually dragged the person a bit. Doesn't really matter which company it was, but they're out of business in that one incident. Now, sure, they had a lot of people sort of monitor. I think they had 1.5 people per vehicle driving, sort of monitoring the cars and adjusting the behavior of the cars. If that's what it's going to take to get Robotaxi on the road, then it's only going to take one oopsie doopsie to get Robotaxi right back off the road, just like we saw there. So we really don't want to be in that middle zone. We don't want to be in that middle zone where one oopsie doopsie kills the entire Robotaxi platform. We really want to get to a place where FSD is perfect. Because once it's perfect, 100%, the regulation will open wide up. But until we get to that perfection, it's going to be a while.
I think there's a couple of points to debate. Sorry.
Yeah.
I was going
Go
to
ahead.
just say a couple of things. First off, these points are up for debate because I don't think any of us knows definitively, like, this is the answer. There's only one answer to these questions. Just a couple of comments, just for one on the cost model today. If Uber and Lyft are estimated to be somewhere between $1 and $2 per mile today, to me, that's where the competition is today, and that's where it starts. And if it starts with a driver in the seat that can actually work more hours and reduce that cost per mile today, then that's where it starts. And then as the system improves and becomes that perfect system, then that person is extracted out and you take another leg down. But the cost is set at market pricing. It's not set. I don't know how you'd go from $1 or $2 to 1 or 2 pennies without the market coming along with it and the volume in the market coming along with it. So I actually think Tesla can extract a lot of margin and a lot of revenue from this for a very long period of time until others actually catch on. And then in terms of it being perfect, I think this is the key, because you're going to have accidents and you're going to have at fault. Like who was at fault? Well, this car is going to have cameras, it's going to have audio, it's going to have everything to understand that and be able to like play some of these things back. But the first kind of report on the scene is going to be whatever. There was an accident with a Robotaxi. And I think there's going to be a critical distinction between like, is the Robotaxi at fault or did something happen? And I think there's a lot of things that have to be worked through on that. But in terms of it being perfect and having this perfect bubble around it, I don't know if that's reality versus being able to definitively explain that this thing is 10 times better or, X time better. And it actually holds those statistics over time. So I just wanted to comment on those 2 points, the cost model and perfection, and maybe starting with a driver and then ramping out of that very quickly.
The thing that I would add to that,
Quickly, I'm going to just mention one thing, and then absolutely, one thing to remember about the $1 to $2 premium that's being paid per mile right now is what you're actually doing is you're paying for the human capital, because that driver, if they don't make at least $20 an hour, let's say, relative to a job that they could just have, plus some form of risk premium, because now they're using their vehicle, they have insurance potential liability. If their car goes in for repair, now they don't have a car, they're out of work, so there's risk involved in that. The insurance payments, gas, maintenance, depreciation, whatever. All of those things go into that $1 to $2 now. When you remove, I would say the vast majority of that is the human, because now you're removing tipping, which is actually a great benefit to Robotaxi because that reduces the cost for everybody already. And you're reducing that sort of hourly human premium. You'll see a pretty rapid collapse in the price of Robotaxi. But anyway, I'll keep listening. Thank you.
the thing that I was going to add is just that I don't think the goalposts are perfect to whatever you want to do on this side. I think the goalposts start more in the center to comparing the vehicle's capability to, call it the average human. And Elon has talked about this many times, right? And with data, you can definitively show the accident rate versus whatever metrics you want to use, whatever the DMVs want to use, the average accident rates for that state or that locality. And I think with data over time, you can definitively show that there's fewer accidents, fewer deaths. And the great thing about that is that will also bring insurance companies along reducing the costs even further. So perfection is never going to happen with FSD. It can't, just by its very nature. It's impossible.
Well, that's
So
bad.
that's
that means you keep a human there forever, because I mean, like, look at Waymo, and they've only had 3 accidents now, and they're driving driverless every single day, and those were minor injury accidents. I'm not trying to defend Waymo. I'm a much more Tesla fan, like way more. I don't think LiDAR is the future. Let's be real, but you know, any slight oopsie doopsies, and there's one way to blame Tesla, that Robotaxi network gets shut down faster than it even gets started, especially with the amount of negative press. And this is the other thing that we have to recognize, and this is the challenge that I've been so frustrated with lately. And so any frustration that I have over Elon, it's just that who's our demo here? Because if Elon's priority is the border and promoting Ben Shapiro and slamming Disney, well, then is Tesla's demo supposed to be conservatives who are then being told by Trump that EVs are bad, right? So I have frustration with Elon with that. I love Elon as an engineer, and I think, you know, robotaxis are coming. That's the future. But when we combine timing and the short-term pain of Q1, Q2 deliveries, the likelihood that this 8.8 event was just sort of decided today as a way to, you know, stick it to Reuters. It's a great way to stick it to Reuters, by the way. Like, I was laughing as soon as I saw it. Like, it is so Elon. Like, stick it to him, right? But then again, coming to where we sit with 12.3, which Boomer Bomber, you were talking about, hey, I've got 12.3. I do. I don't actually drive that much. But the little bit that I do, I go, okay. Like, it's definitely a move forward, but I feel like we're on version like 1.3 neural net driving, right? There are still so many edge case scenarios, and I just wonder, how can we possibly get to robotaxis with this number of edge scenarios?
This is
I
crazy.
think you're right.
I'm sorry,
Can I just
Kevin,
put
but
that in there?
you have been too long in Ross's and Gary's school. I'm sorry.
No.
You're
Well,
just-
first of all,
you're just
I'm happy to hear
conflating-
what you're
just
saying,
conflicting.
but wait. I'm happy to hear what you're saying, but that's a popular thing to say because people like to say these populist slams or whatever, but that's disrespectful, first of all. And second of all, they're not my dad. I listen to everybody equally. I'm here. I'm not talking to Ross and Gary. I haven't talked to them at all today. I'm here listening and talking to y'all, so we don't have to start with that, but please, go ahead.
And I appreciate that. But when you say Elon's politics have something to do with robotaxis, they don't, right? Robotaxi is a thing that Tesla is constructing, whether Elon is tweeting or not tweeting. It just doesn't matter. And I mean, that you all want a CEO that is polished and Wall Street ready doesn't have, you know, this is a guy that lands rockets. This is a guy that will bring robotaxis to this world, in a world where nobody else can do it. What the heck, whether he's politically on the right, on the left, whether he likes Ben Shapiro, Disney, it just doesn't matter. And while you're concentrated on that, and while you're concentrated on guidance for 2023, and while you're concentrated on 2024, while you're concentrated on Q1 or Q2 numbers, and whether, you know, whatever earnings per share is now 20 cents higher or 20 cents lower, it doesn't matter when you're revolutionizing a complete industry, a complete world view. It just doesn't matter. And whether this now takes a couple of weeks longer or shorter, whether this will be accepted in all 50 states straight away, will rolled out first in the United States or somewhere else, it does not matter. It is like the moment we got the smartphone, and people said, yeah, but I really like my landline. I really like AT&T. I really like the way it rings. Yeah, no, it doesn't matter. Do you remember what AT&T's CEO did at that moment? Did he tweet? Did he not? It doesn't matter. You sometimes really conflate stuff just to make a negative story. You complain that there is so much negative baggage on the name Tesla, but you're actually maintaining it and entertaining it.
Can we go back to just talk about
Sure.
Tesla and the robotaxi? So just, Kevin, I hear your points, but here's where I disagree with a lot of what you're saying. One, you're extrapolating, you're using 12.3 as if that's going to be where we are at that point in time, right? We don't know the pace of acceleration. I'm not going to say that I know it, but it does seem like it's moving faster. So you can try to extrapolate and understand that by the time this is launched mid-2025 and 2025, we should be much further along in progress than what it is today. But also this whole notion of one accident and that's it and it's over. No, Cruise lied. Cruise tried to hide. Cruise tried to make it seem like it was doing something it wasn't. Elon, Tesla, the company, there have been FSD crashes. There have been incidents. There's a lawsuit happening now. We've been able to move past that. You know, I think a lot of this can become this whole notion of, I don't want to say echo chambers, but take Florida versus California, for example. In Florida, if there's a situation like that, they're probably not going to start just canceling everyone, you know, and saying, oh, well, we got to take this off the road right away. California, maybe it's more like that. But I think this is also going to become regional. But the real competition is going to be, are you really going to want to be that state that's going to get rid of this amazing tax revenue, the leader in technology, and this potential to draw more businesses in? DeSantis is very clear that he's trying to bring as many businesses in as he can, right? I think California is starting to, you know, head back the other way. But so there's a lot more nuance than just this binary black and white that we're making. And the last comment I'll make, and I'll pass it on, this whole idea of perfect or it's not good enough, nothing is perfect. No, we have lots of things that are autonomous. Nothing is perfect. But perfect is not what we're trying to get to. What we're trying to get to is data. Data is what matters at the end of the day. Are we safer? Do we have less accidents? We can tolerate that. And that's why if it was going to be perfect, then we don't need insurance. Then that's out of the question. But there's going to be insurance. There's going to be liability, and we're going to expect it. We're going to expect people to die, right? It can be perfect, and guess what? The vehicle blows out a tire, and it causes a 15-car pile-up where 15 people die. Then what? Right? So it's never going to be perfect. You're never going to be able to avoid everything. But we can't live our lives trying to get to perfect. We need to live our lives to get to progress and make incremental improvements.
And I think just to build on what Nick just said there in terms of tires, cars have flat tires all the time. And yet we don't expect perfection there, right? And just as Nick said, flat tires can cause accidents. Flat tires can inconvenience you. You might find yourself in a situation where you're on the side of the road waiting for somebody to help you because Teslas don't have spare tires. So what's the big deal if a robotaxi finds itself every now and then in a situation that it can't handle? I don't think that's grounds for shutting down a robotaxi network. It's just that those are edge cases that need to be worked on or addressed. And maybe in some instances, they'll never be addressed because it's just such weird things happen. And so there has to be some, range there where the public accepts it, and they will because they're going to save so much money on their transportation costs.
And the learning curve of the robotaxi is so much better than in a human learning curve will ever be. So while it may not be close to perfect initially, it will get closer and closer to perfect.
So Kevin, I have a question for you, and I'll kind of tie in something that I want to read to you guys. So, I think there's some assumptions being made on what is being unveiled, with this robotaxi. And I want to point out something really, really important. By the way, I agree with what Nick was saying with the binary thinking about the 0 to 100. It doesn't have to be. The real point is it's about statistics and acquiring, having a supervisor, right? This is the new name, supervised, getting data just like they do when they show fire data or, miles traveled under FSD. But listen to this, guys. I just received this morning. Interestingly enough, after saying the new FSD is only 10% better, it was driving me home from Nick's school and someone drifted into my lane on brushy, I won't go, to the point where an accident was imminent. I never even saw it. The car gunned the gas, electrons, and swerved like a champ. And then right back to normal driving like nothing ever happened. So I'll have to bump up my percentage increase in quality up to 20%. That's one story. And then a couple of days ago, my wife came home, first time, didn't like version 11. And she said, hey, the car just completely slammed on the brakes for a car that turned in front of her on a left turn. And she said she didn't react as quickly as the car did. And I think that's the real important thing to take away from all of this is that FSD is outperforming humans. And once you have the statistics to back it up that it performs safer than a human, then how can regulators or anyone argue with data?
There's something though we could be missing though, that is Tesla doesn't have this muscle. At least they haven't expressed this muscle yet of being able to tell a story. Like, they've created beautiful product. They've revolutionized electric vehicles, but they have to be able to tell the story and get the story out to people and convince people of the safety of this. And this hasn't been their strong suit to date, but they're going to have to develop this muscle. And I think we should, we're all happy about this and we should be happy about this. But I think that's, if you want to put a checklist of items that Tesla is going to have to be able to kind of build themselves up to do, is going to be able to tell this safety story and convince people to step inside of this product.
And I think that's where, shout out to you, Kevin, during 2 shareholder meetings ago, where you asked Elon for the advertisement, right, and marketing, and we're seeing it, it's happening, and so I think they are starting to build and flex that muscle, and they're gonna make mistakes and they'll learn, and I think they'll get there eventually. But I agree with you, it's there's no Steve Jobs there.
So let's make maybe a couple comments and then maybe come up with a projection here. So a couple comments would be, first, sort of back to briefly what you had mentioned, Boomer Mama, about the political risk being sort of short-term noise. The issue with that is that short-term noise does potentially affect hiring, recruitment, and talent compared to other AI organizations. So that is something to keep in mind. We do want to attract AI talent to Tesla. You want the best AI talent there. The other point about maybe the driver stays in the seat longer, I think that's where, and we don't want perfect to be the enemy of the good. Big fan of these statements. So I think what'll probably end up happening, and this is where I think the best thing to do is maybe we sort of debate a projection here. I think what'll likely happen is we'll continue to see FSD evolve. So by the time August rolls around, who knows, we could be on FSD version 13, version 14, and maybe 90% of those edge cases we're seeing are gone, and it's like rare, like, hey, post when you find an edge case, and everybody's like, haven't found one in a while. That we'll get there. That'll be wonderful. What we'll probably have is the Tesla fleet of vehicles that we drive, that we own, and then we'll have a smaller scale launch of robotaxis, is my prediction. So we'll launch maybe 100 robotaxis from Tesla. It'll start in Austin and San Francisco, and you'll be right there with Zoox and Waymo and the others for a while. Now the difference, and this is where Tesla really breaks out, the difference is Tesla is not geofenced like the others. The others are essentially mostly map trained. That's not to say that Tesla hasn't done its sort of map adjustments in prior versions as well. They have. But now, once you have a fully neural net robotaxi that is functioning and it's based on a vision system, Tesla's going to be able to scale their robotaxi expansion, I would say 100 times as fast as a Waymo could, because Waymo will have to get basically mapped before it can operate in another city, whereas Tesla can go into another city and operate. So I would expect this Unveil will be something like, look, the robotaxi is not going to be something anybody buys anytime soon, but Tesla as a company is going to start operating it under the licenses Boomer Mama mentioned, and we'll expand from there. That's my anticipation for what we're going to hear on 8.8. I don't think we'll actually see, we won't be, and this is where the downside comes, I don't think we'll actually be able to price in any kind of revenue forecasts from this Unveil, because we're going to get something over, hey, this is the vehicle, here's the testing, here's where we're going to do it, here's how we're going to do it, and the revenue might be a few years down the road. So that leaves us stuck with Q1, Q2, which right now aren't looking too great. And then
I know you want to buy and you need 10 days, but stop talking down the stock. That's all you're trying to do. It's all good.
No, he's not.
No,
that's not true at all. Well, hold on. Again, it's completely
Q1
disrespectful
and
to my
Q2 don't
argument.
work.
Well, hold on. I gave you all a chance to talk. I made a very respectful argument. I said I agreed with you with the licensing. I said there's a political risk you didn't mention regarding attracting talent to Tesla. And I also made a respectful argument and said, I actually made a prediction, and I said, I think we're going to start with a small-scale robotaxi launch where they compete with the Zoox and the likes of Waymo, and that they can expand 100 times faster than the others. These are actually extremely bullish statements. I just think they're realistic statements. They don't help us Q1, Q2. Duh. So then I was going to say, what does this do for 26, 27, 28? But then you did cut me off. I think for 26, 27, 28, that's probably when Tesla really starts pricing in the explosive growth, because that's when Wall Street's going to be able to start realizing, aha, Tesla's doing what the Waymo's doing, but look at how they can scale 100 times faster. Look at, I mean, Tesla AI just posted. Tesla hit 1 billion miles of FSD. So this is great. Like, Tesla has so many wonderful things going for it. But I just want to be clear. It is rude for me to be here and then you make that accusation. And this is the second time now I'm asking you to please be respectful. I'm being very respectful.
I will be respectful, Kevin, and I appreciate you came. But first of all, you can't compare robotaxis with Waymo. You just can't. Waymo is not Neuralinks, is not an end-to-end system. It is something, you're right, geofenced, pre-mapped. With Cruise, we actually learned there were people sitting in the back seat and steering them, okay? So this is just not comparable, not scalable, not nothing. And I think this is the blow to all of them. A lot of the OEMs had hoped that they can use Mobileye and that they could use in the end Waymo, but this is it. The big news today, and I think you're trying to ignore that still, is the fact of timing. When there was still the talk, and that was our discussion this morning, by the way, when there was still the talk of the 25,000 compact car coming first, they were actually giving away a critical competitive advantage, which is their advanced technology in full self-drive. By delaying that, by first concentrating on the compact car, on the 25,000, yes, they would have now mass produced and have a car especially necessary for China and Europe. Let's face it, the smaller car wasn't that important for the United States, but it is very, very important for Europe and for China. But by now prioritizing the robotaxi, they have clearly drawn a line in the sand where they're saying, look, we're so far ahead in full self-drive. There is nobody even in sight, and there is nobody in sight. I mean, I've looked into Mobileye a lot. I've looked into Waymo a lot. It's just not comparable. We're going live with this now. Small scale or big scale, I don't know. Will they have a business plan in their charts on August 8th? I don't know. It doesn't really matter to me. It is for me the fact that there is now a line drawn. We have it. And you all either catch up or close shop because there is nothing comparable. We're ready to license it to OEMs if you want to have those in consumer cars, but we are going to produce and sell and run robotaxis in one form or the other. And that's the important subject. And that's why I say to you, Q1 and Q2, I mean, first of all, it's already passed. Half of it is already passed. And you know as much as I do that stock price is not about this current year. Stock price is about what is going to come in the coming 3, 5, 7 years. So all this anticipation is going to be priced in sooner or later into the stock price. It's only a matter of how does Wall Street think this profitability will filter through to Tesla. So of course I'm much more optimistic than you. I don't see the hurdles as big as you do, but I did want, and I think Herbert has prepared it, I did want to share a post from Rohan a couple of days ago, 2 or 3 days ago, because it was really building up. You could feel it coming from all sides, from Tesla posts and tweets, where he clearly said we will need Tesla owners to step up to their regulators. In this case, he was addressing the European Tesla drivers, helping make regulators understand that the consumer wants this. The time will come that we need to step up and help. And then he said on the bottom, by the way, this is also very true in the United States. So they are working on this. They are working to roll this out, not only in the United States, and they are counting on our help to make sure to get a wider set of leaders' support for full self-drive.
Yeah, I think we come back to just Herbert, like we come back to the center of like, so Elon put a tweet out, Robotaxi Unveil 8.8. We don't know what that is yet. We don't know if we're seeing a vehicle, we're seeing service with network infrastructure, an app. We don't know if it's going to be, some earlier timing on existing vehicles. Do we have to wait for a lower cost vehicle to ramp later, and how all this plays together? And I do think it comes back to, if we like bring it back to today's date, we just had the delivery announcement, and we're going to have an earnings call in a couple of weeks. It is, I think, some point between now and 8.8, yeah, maybe there do need to be some breadcrumbs in terms of like, okay, how does this company transition from a vehicle company, a company that makes a majority of its revenue on hardware? How does it transition to this? And yes, got it, idiot. There's this announcement on 8.8. Of course, that's how we're going to show it. But if there's any more color behind it, again, they don't have to show necessarily like, here's the full business plan with all the dates, but just something along the lines of, what we've seen on version 12 has allowed us to, understand that we can accelerate this. And if there are any definitive statements about either a level 3 or level 4 capability this year, or the ability to have this service out this year on existing vehicles, or any kind of definitive statement of how the company transitions from revenue per vehicle being in hardware to it being mostly in software, I think that's going to be super helpful. And this all comes back to that.
Yeah, Jeff, I think at this point, we actually need to have that. We need to have that deep in depth. Look, up to this point, it didn't make sense because really, we all thought, okay, it looks like we're tracking. This might be doable, might be possible without LiDAR. I think 12 has shown us that this is the way, and that they're obviously seeing things internally that's making them extremely bullish, hence all the comments. And so with that said, they've already been working on the production line. They're going to show us the Robotaxi. Now there's no reason not to go in depth on what this model could look like, in the same way they get really in depth with battery day, the same way they get really in depth with AI day, right? Like really lay it out for us now, not just for us, but for Wall Street, because that's going to advance the mission. That's going to get more people to invest and keep Tesla secure as a company, right? It's in their best interest as well. So before this, I would say it's a little premature because we're not really sure. But it seems like they're highly confident that they're about to get there, that they're going to solve this sooner than later. They're no longer compute constraint, right? So all the variables seem to be checked off. Now it's just a matter of a little more time. And if that is where we truly are, I think the onus is on Tesla now to show us, what does this look like? You keep saying that this is the revenue of the future, that it's going to exceed, that it's the business model. Let's lay it out. How does it work? How do we start? Maybe we do start with human supervised and in a network to figure out how the network's going to function, how we're going to add people, take people off, when do we have peak, off peak, right? Try to do all the learnings that Uber has. But then where do we go from there? Like what's the progress? What's the evolution of this?
Nicely said,
Yeah.
Nick. I appreciate that. I want to ask you, Kevin. So you sold a lot of Tesla. We just heard that Elon announced that he's going to do the unveil of the Robotaxi. You went through your thesis that even though that he did that, there's still quite a ways. The next 2 quarters are going to be down anyways. Is there any change in your thinking about Tesla as an investment? Will you come in later again? Or do you think this is a dog stock for the entire year, despite this new news that dropped today?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you for that. My original thesis was that, you do a 30-day tax loss harvest play. This was my original thesis. In my original video, I said, sell NVIDIA at like $950, take some fat tendies, and wash them with Tesla because the next 30 days probably going to be quiet and probably bad. Well, they've been anything but quiet, that's for sure. Like, the amount of FSD explosion in the last, 3 weeks has been insane. 12, 12.1, 12.2, 12.3, 3.3, it's, incredible. That actually has substantially helped mitigate the pain of those horrible deliveries in Q1. And my thesis was always, okay, just after 30 days, just rebuy, and nothing changes. Like, my long-run view of Tesla has not changed at all. I still think we're going to get there. This morning, I was very nervous when I thought there was actually a chance the Model 2 wasn't going to happen, which I believe for a moment, mostly because, and a lot of people aren't paying attention to this, Tesla said they were going to break ground in Mexico on March 3rd. Well, there's a dude on YouTube who flies his drone over there. You could do it like drone Giga Mexico flyover or whatever. And he posted a video 10 days ago flying over the site, and you kind of see the construction vehicles and stuff. And somebody replies to the comments and says, hey, I'm so excited to see more drone videos. And the guy's like, me too. I haven't seen any progress for the last 10 days or something, he said. I'll let you know when there's any progress. And that was like 2 weeks ago. So my thinking is we're still in this bizarre position where Elon is very concerned about the economy. He's very concerned about rates, and he's alluded to this, actually bluntly said it in his earnings calls. And there is a risk that with these low deliveries, we're going to go free cash flow negative. And so here's where the near-term problems come. We're not breaking ground in Mexico. Something stalled over there. We might be free cash flow zero or free cash flow negative. Those are the near-term sort of bearish ideas, right? And if we're free cash flow negative, we've got about $3.5 billion of a buffer. People like to say, well, they got over $20 billion in cash. Well, not if you offset the payables. And if free cash flow goes negative, we're going to burn through that $3.5 billion this year. So I think the ability for large scale, actually like developing something in Mexico or India in the near term, very, very low unless they want to sell stock, which I don't think they want to do, not at these prices, or they want to take on more debt, which is also not desirable given that financing for Tesla right now would probably be in the neighborhood of 7 to 8, maybe even 10%. Not great either. So I think Elon's in actually a very conservative mode right now where, yeah, we got to build sort of long-term hype. That's going to help us get through 2024. When do we really get out of this? I've always thought we'd start sort of pre-pricing in the interest rate cuts, but these cuts keep getting delayed. That's the other problem. We might not be getting cuts until September or even November now, and that's all speculation. So I think at bare minimum, we probably have pain for the next, I don't know, maybe 3 months or so. Is that really going to stop me from owning Tesla? Probably not. The bigger issue, it comes if we go to August, and this is just more of a medium-term bearish thought, and I just want to prep people. It's not to say don't own Tesla long-term. It's just to prep people. August 9th, assuming that's a trading day, usually you have buy the rumor, sell the news with these events. You know, after Optimus 1, we were down 8.5% the next day on the trade. I actually liked the Optimus 1 reveal. I thought it was amazing. The next day, the stock market's like, F you, this sucks. Okay, buy the rumor, sell the news. We get it. This is stupid trading stuff. So if we have that combined with no rate cuts yet at that point, and we're still getting inventory buildup, yeah, we're still going to have near-term challenges. That's all just 2024 nonsense, though. So the point of saying that is, if you're in margin, you probably don't want to be on margin on Tesla. You probably want to diversify away for that purpose. You're not in margin. You don't need the money anytime soon. You know, you're not going to like lose your opportunity to build your business or build your house, and you're not going to lose whatever else you're trying to do by being exposed to Tesla. Fine. In the next 5-10 years, do I think this is now going to be the sole EV company in America that dominates? Absolutely. They're going to dominate Robotaxi. They're going to dominate electric vehicles. Nobody else is investing in electric vehicles. They're all now trying to follow Toyota, which I think is a mistake, and go hybridization. And BYD, they're trying to follow this. Ford, GM, they're all throwing in the towel on EVs. Basically, the competition is getting wiped out in America, and we know America's not going to let Chinese vehicles in for at least the next 10 years. The protectionism is going to be way too tight. So, like, next decade, really excited about Tesla. Next, like 6 to 9 months, I'm not.
Okay, well, let me just jump in on two things. First of all, Tesla, when doing financing, as they've done about 6 months ago, when they set up the new credit line for $5 to $10 billion, is at AAA levels. So it's not as if they would do that at 7, 8, or 10%. Not at all. The second thing is, if you follow Tesla close enough, what happened to the money that was earmarked for Mexico? It was put in compute. When we suddenly had those tweets from Elon where he said, we're not compute constrained again, there were a couple of billion thrown at whatever it is. I still hope it's our own dojo,
NVIDIA.
but it could, whatever, NVIDIA chips or whatever. They got AMD chips he was talking about at one point as well. So if that is, no matter which one it is, by the way, if that allowed to not have a compute issue anymore in FSD and get FSD to the point that we're now ready for Robotaxi, it was the best investment ever. And whether we have a shovel in the ground in Mexico now or 3 months later makes no difference whatsoever. I always feel with you, Kevin, that you sort of exaggerate a problem that's actually not a problem without seeing what happened on the other side. So the fact that Mexico is delayed is also because if the 25,000 compact car is delayed because we're now prioritizing Robotaxi, you don't need that factory as quickly. As you remember,
Yep.
the production line for the 25,000 compact car is first built in Austin, now obviously built maybe parallel or less prioritized compared to the Robotaxi. But if it's not done in Austin yet, why build Mexico now if you can't put the thing there? So the Mexico delay, because that's what it is, it's not more, not less. Nobody said they're not going to go to Mexico, is actually because the money had and you know what that is because money allocation is your job. The money had a better usage by putting into compute at the moment, because that's how we got to the Robotaxi. So you can turn it any way you want. It's not a 6 to 9 months negative. I mean, I tell everybody, don't go into margin. Tesla is not a stock for margin. Tesla is not a stock for option, even though Xander is going to tell me that that's not true. But what it is this is a huge milestone in the right direction, and not, oh my God, there's still clouds for the 6 to 9 months. There'll be clouds always. That's just the way business is, and especially when you're disrupting everything and everybody.
I think that's a very fair point. I don't disagree with you at all about the production line not being ready. I actually find that to be more concerning that the production line isn't ready, because we were told it was going to be ready. So I personally find that to be more concerning. Is the new method of production maybe not quite there yet? You are innovating something new, so we're talking delays. But that's the big thing when it comes to the stock. It is an investment. It's a future. Well, hold on a second. Let me finish. I'm happy to respond to you, but let me finish. An investment is a return of expected cash flow. I know y'all know this. And so, yes, it was investing in H100s or AMD chips or whatever maybe a better use of capital? Absolutely. Completely agree with that. But what you're doing is you're underwriting now 2026 EPS much lower, and 2028 and 29 and 30 EPS likely much higher, right? You make the investment earlier now for higher EPS in the future, great for the long term. But what you do, you rob from EPS in the short term. And that's why I'm saying long run bullish, short medium term not so much. That's all.
Sure. That's fair.
Don't you think people are going to see through that though?
Oh, no, because
you really don't? Because I'm telling you right now.
Because I think here's the thing. This is a very important phrase to know. Securities are sold, not bought. Most people aren't doing the analysis that we are. Most people are listening to their advisors, and they're investing the way their advisors are pitching. And when people can say, you should invest in NVIDIA because it's got, a 30 PE ratio and it's expected to grow at 30, so it's a one peg, it's a great deal. Whatever. I'm just making up numbers, okay? I actually think NVIDIA is a little rich right now, but that's beside the point. That is selling a security, right? Most people need to be sold a security to make an investment. The SEC told me that. I'm not making up that quote. Securities are sold, not bought. So when analysts look at EPS projections, they can estimate, okay, what's our growth rate? What valuation are we willing to pay for that growth rate? Cool. Let's invest in that in our funds. Let's tell our clients about it. Hey, here's our new big idea. Analysts come out with their analyst pieces. I understand. Analysts, they usually follow the trends. They do price cuts when the stock goes down. They do price raises when the price goes up. I get it. It's a whole business. And I'm not saying as every individual retail investor, you should do as they're doing or listen to all of the advisors or whatever. It's simply a fact, though, that when people look at PE ratios and PEG ratios, by removing PE or removing earnings, rather, from 2025 and 6 by killing the Model 2 and putting those into 27, 8, and 9, you are delaying EPS. Therefore, you're making the near-term valuation look more rich. That's all.
Yeah, but that's a lot of assumptions. I mean, to even say that they're killing it or delaying it, we don't know. We don't know. For all we know, it's on the same platform, it's on the same line, it could be all happening at the same time, right? It could be nighttime we do robotaxis, daytime we switch over to Model 2 to deliver those. We don't know. And to speculate, it's not supposing, it is true. Yes.
No. It's supposing that they could come out with the Model 2 and it has FSD and it's all in the same package and they're going to produce 10,000 units per week as they suggested they were going to at the end of 2025. We're supposing that that is still going to be the case. But if that's not the case, because there's a chance of both. There's a chance that is true and there's a chance it's not true. If that gets delayed a year or two, then the EPS changes, right? So we don't know. And that's actually kind of the exciting thing about 8.8 is we'll get some insight.
Yeah, there's a trend that's been forming. Oh, sorry, please go ahead.
Real quick, Jeff. It's one thing to talk about the fundamentals of a business, right? And there's all kinds of speculation and all kinds of things that we just don't know. That's great. We can talk about that all day long. It's an entirely another thing to think about how the stock of any company is going to behave over any time period. I've been an investment advisor for 30 years. Okay. I have seen people come and go that think they know about how stocks behave and all that. It's great to say that. It's great to speculate, but it is absolutely, in my opinion, worthless information and conversation. Now, a lot of the things we talk about here about the fundamentals of the business may also be worthless conversation, but at least you get to a deeper understanding. But when you talk about what people might do with the stock tomorrow, 3 months, 6 months from now, you're talking about a whole host of uncertainties that you cannot predict. Interest rates, the economy, some crazy event in the world, another pandemic, people's emotional state, like it is beyond complex. And just to think that the fundamentals of the company influence that, that's this much. So that's my piece on that. Sorry, Jeff.
No, I was actually going to say everybody's situation is different. It's hard to come on here. We're talking to thousands of people concurrently and to say, don't go on margin here, go on. Just have your own plan that works for you, that you're comfortable with. And there's so many variables. I think Cern said it well. I was just going to comment a little bit in terms of what's going on with manufacturing capacity, because you really have to look at what's going on in the auto industry since 2017. In the US, Europe, and China, what's been happening is the utilization rates have been dropping. We've reached peak auto several years ago, and we've been on a decline. And I think one of the things that Tesla may be seeing is that rate of decline may be accelerating. It's hard to say. So you could have made plans a couple of years ago about what's my output going to be per square meter, what's my manufacturing model, and what's the total vehicle output need to be, what percent of TAM am I going to be? And those things can change over time. I'm actually glad that Tesla is making, kind of wise decisions about this. It's not always a pure negative of, they say they're going to open a factory, they don't open a factory, that means revenue is blocked. No, in the background, I believe with this unboxed model, they don't necessarily have to go into a greenfield operation and build it up from scratch. They can do something called brownfield, which is going up into an existing factory. You could add a phase, or you can go to an existing phase, rework it, and you can have greater output per square meter than the existing operation that's in there today and swap that out. So this is a bit more complex than trying to look at trying to count how many factories that Tesla has. It's a lot more complex. It's a lot more multifactorial than that. So I just wanted to weigh in on that. And I think Tesla's noticed that this transition from vehicle hardware as a source of revenue and the number of vehicles they ship per year, that changeover to this software model is probably going to become more rapidly than they may have even anticipated themselves. And maybe they're surprised at the rate of improvement they're seeing with V12 and what they're able to do with all this training compute. So I think some of these variables are just starting to click into place. The training not becoming training compute, the performance on V12XX, the number of releases that we've seen in a finite period of time, which really some people can say it shows instability in the platform. I say it shows stability, that you can put that many releases to that wide of audience in that short a period of time. And again, it seems like the Tesla engineering personnel are blown away with what they're seeing internally. They were blown away with what they were seeing internally 6 months ago, and we couldn't see it. Now, what are they seeing now for the next couple of months? So I just wanted to make a couple of comments that I think the industry may be changing right in front of our eyes, and Tesla and Elon are going to pull that trigger, and they're going to see that much quicker than we are.
Look, I want to jump in here just to set the stage again of where we're at. Okay, so basically, we were seeing Tesla's, auto gross margin collapse. We were looking at lower volume, and we had a terrible P&D. But guys, okay, you saw energy being reported now. You've got FSD version 12.3.3 coming out, and it's looking like it's so much better than it's ever been before. You've got an announcement today from Elon Musk ahead of anybody else's guesses that Tesla Robotaxi will be unveiled in 8.8. How could this not be good news? There is how do you see Tesla not being a bad company at this point when they're progressing in bot, they're progressing in energy, they're breaking in Robotaxi? I get your point, Kevin. That's fine. Fair point. This is all future. And we got to look in the next 2 quarters are going to be negative. And that's why you might not want to invest at this point. That's fine. But if you talk about, is this a good company? And did they just drop something pretty massive this morning? It's massive. Because Robotaxi, as Cern pointed out in his business model, it's like 10, 100 times bigger than the auto market. It is massive. So I see comments on there, Robotaxi is a pipe dream. It's like, you're going to keep hearing that until it happens.
Yeah.
Okay, here's FSD. Look, it's driving. Ah, pipe dream. Oh, here, let me show you the Robotaxi that we built. Pipe dream. Okay, you can go ahead and believe that, but you have an issue with your brain if you don't follow the progress that is happening on quite a regular basis, and you're punting everything. But at the end of the day, this is massive news today. Do you guys, I mean, I know that we have if all of us are bulls, and I know you're a bull too, Kevin. You're just saying short-term versus long-term. I agree with that.
Does anybody have thoughts on, and I really appreciate what you said. I thought that was a great summary. Does anybody have thoughts on if training and version 12 is this newly trained end-to-end neural net? What do we think about what NVIDIA teased about their Orin network and how they're already collecting data through their partnerships with Mercedes or BMW or other? And I have a feeling what everybody's going to say here, but I just want to bring it up. That This idea that only Tesla will have robotaxis, I think is worth looking at as well, especially since the training and compute technology is clearly off-the-shelf accessible. Remember, that's what Elon grabbed. What's not off-the-shelf accessible is the data. So the compute is off the shelf. So do other companies have the data to compete?
Yeah, Nikki, I'll let you do it in a second. Just wanna point out one thing. I do believe all OEMs, all of them, without any exception, would prefer buying an NVIDIA or a Mobileye or whatever else solution, just because, that's it. But don't you think by putting out this Robotaxi date so soon is exactly the antidote to that? And Nick, I'll let you now explain why NVIDIA doesn't have what Tesla does have.
Yeah. So here's the thing, Kevin, you're right. NVIDIA, anybody can buy, well, not anybody, actually, only a handful of companies can buy Blackwell chips right now, but eventually everyone's going to open it up. People can get H100s now, right? All that's true. Data, forget the data. Forget that importance. Let's say everybody has the data. Great, you have the data. That's no difference than somebody buying a report from Sandy Munro and understanding exactly how a Tesla is built and breaking it down and all that. What people don't have is they don't know the right directions to get to where Tesla has with the neural nets and the training. They haven't made the wrong lefts, the wrong rights. They haven't gotten to these peaks thinking, oh, this is it. Oh, no, it's not. Oh, this is it. This end-to-end neural network was only possible because of everything they did with heuristics, right? That's the only reason they got to this point. So all of that isn't for nothing. That allowed us to get to where we are. Even furthermore, all the hard work that Karpathy did while he was there to get the project vacation, that ability to go from human reinforcement learning, HRL, to just reinforcement learning, which allows you for scalability, that's something that they're going to have to figure out. How is that done? They can't even figure out right now how to do over-the-air updates. How are they going to get the data back to begin with, let alone figure out what are the right techniques for all this? So yes, everyone can get the hardware. NVIDIA doesn't even know how to do this. Let's be clear. NVIDIA doesn't even know how to do this. They have an idea. They can make, certain platforms where you can train, but they don't have the ability or the know-how to do this across the board. In fact, go ahead.
Sorry for interrupting you because I want to show the answer to the question. I just did a show on all of this. I'm so prepared. It's great. So Frida Dwan works for Altimeter Capital. She says this: Tesla's mode in self-driving. The self-driving space has been battleground of ideas. LiDAR versus cameras, rules-based, end-to-end, right? This is code versus end-to-end. And then if you look at this table here, this is where NVIDIA falls. So you can see here that Tesla is the only company that has both camera and end-to-end. Okay, you got NVIDIA that is down here, which is they're still rules-based, and they don't have the data, by the way. You got Mobileye that is kind of now has got the right cameras, but they don't have, these guys are doing LiDAR still, okay? Now, if you look at the data, she explains the issue with the data and her explanation of the data. The right type of data is crucial. Tesla has 9 cameras per car, while most existing fleets on the road have 1 to 2. Although NVIDIA sells 1 million units of the Orin chips annually, and Mobileye's Q chip have 70% penetration. most of the installed vehicles don't produce the right kind of data for training. Access to data is important too. The presence of cameras doesn't guarantee usable data, with much of it not being saved or simply disconnected. Even when data is stored, third parties like NVIDIA and Mobileye face hurdles using it in real time. She goes on, I did a whole show on this, on explaining all these points that she made. But the key thing here is, people think, look, what about NVIDIA? What about Cruise? What about these guys? And what about the Chinese automakers? These guys are all stuck in LiDAR. They've now made announcements they're going to go into vision only, but nobody has yet even started doing end-to-end versus coding except for a couple Chinese companies. Li Auto and Xiaopeng have said that they started last year, but they're still very far behind before they'll get to where this is. NVIDIA could be a competitor, certainly never count them out, but they're not in any way, the moat is big. It's really much bigger than people think.
I like that. That was good.
And Herbert, I just sent you Tasha from ARC's tweet that you can show here as well, because what she pointed out very clearly is on that 1 billion miles driven, you actually see that the curve now is pointing much more straight upwards. And I don't think we saw that, we pointed that out initially.
Oh yeah, I was about to point that out and I forgot to do that. Yeah, that the curve upward is so critical to see.
Herbert, real quick, just for transparency, on that last post, Altimeter does have a big position in Tesla that they took recently. So just transparency.
Well, they recently just bought, but just said, I'm going to buy like big time because of Robotaxi. And then this announcement comes. So they seem to have timed it correctly. So if you look at this, this post that Tesla just posted just a few minutes ago, they're now at 1 billion FSD miles driven. But look at the sharp increase at just as soon as the latest versions have been sent. Yep. And then I think you're trying to say is take a look at what Tasha Keeney says. That's an accelerating data advantage. Is that what you wanted to point out?
Exactly. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, I think the other thing too, and just in terms of like NVIDIA's working with, they said, I think they announced 80 different OEMs. I think Nick said it very well. Like all this data is not created equal. A lot of it can be garbage. The other thing too is just that being vertically integrated under one roof. The inference silicon chip development team for Tesla, they have Tesla badges and they're working on this silicon and they get inputs and KPIs, for example, from the reliability and safety team that also works for Tesla about, timing controls, what kind of latency do they need? And that's all happening under one virtual roof inside of Tesla. I don't even know how this is going to work with NVIDIA spraying out to 80 different OEMs. You would think at some point there needs to be kind of a lead 1 or 2 customers to get this out. But back to that point, I do think that there will be followers, and it's not a lead in perpetuity. It's a question of how much of a lead is there, and then what and how long will it take for someone to catch up. It's not in perpetuity. I think that's unrealistic.
I don't know. I think in the States, assuming they're not there yet, but assuming they get to robotaxis, I would say in the States, it is in perpetuity. I would say the winners will be elsewhere. I mean, we've seen, it's not like this is crazy, right? Google right now, for what seems like perpetuity, has a search dominance. Even when we thought ChatGPT would be something that really disrupted, really hasn't that much. But I think there's just such a big moat that in the States, once they solve it, there's at least a 10-year, which to me, 10 years is perpetuity. I can't see further than a year, so.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that's up for debate. I think that's I don't disagree with you. I just think it's an interesting topic to debate. I think they'd have to change their development model. And the other thing we don't talk about enough is the economic model. And there's a lot of these robotaxi operators that literally get knocked out even if you just evaluate them on an economic model alone. So it's really like you've got to have this truth table where everything needs to be true. Like you need the performance, you need the economics, and you need the ability to volume scale both of those. And it's hard to see like which other competitor can do and hit all 3 of those things at the scale of Tesla. So then you give Tesla, a lead for that, and you gotta put them on a hand for that and say, okay, they're going to have a lead for some period of time. and then are there going to be regional leaders, or how this is going to actually work? So, but I think that's one of the seldom things that's missed is we're like, oh, I got into Waymo, I got into a cruise. Well, there's a scale to that. There's an economic model to that. And I think that the performance of that, the economic model, and the ability of the volume scale all have to be kind of weighed together.
Kevin, did your father-in-law test out FSD?
Ha 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 ha. The day my father, I've always said the day my father-in-law buys a Tesla and uses FSD is the day everyone should sell Tesla, because he's going to be the last person. Like it's like there's always, I think, going to be a group of people who are like this will never work, and bears on it. And he is deathly afraid of it. Every time I try to show him, he's deathly afraid of it. That they're going to be the last people to kind of like get in on it. So I don't think he's a good example. I appreciate you.
But you haven't taken him or anything? I mean, I've seen some of your clips. I know he's Tesla skeptical, but
oh yeah, no, I try, but it's funny, you know, the car could do. I mean, the last time I took him, I was leaving the airport, and the car does the entire drive perfectly. But one time, it comes off, and it's got this bizarre kind of like merge onto the highway on ramp, and I had to take over so that the car was slowing down before the curb, and the entire time, see, that's why. And I'm just like, whatever, man. you just can't win everyone on that, and I'm okay with that. You know, the good news here is Tesla, by doing this 8/8 date, they've created something that honestly has been missing, and that's hope. I think Tesla stock and investors have felt a little bit in despair the last 6 months. They felt maybe Elon's been distracted, true or not. Maybe we're not making progress as fast as we thought. Maybe there isn't as much demand as we thought, right? All of this sort of despair. Maybe rate cuts aren't coming. That sort of despair, I think, has weighed on the stock. And I think Elon today did the right thing, and he brought a vision back. This is a start to bringing the vision back. That's what he is. He's a visionary, and he should be sharing that vision. Hey, look, we might have a tough 2024, but look at what we have for the future. That's what I'm pretty excited about. Now, I want to say, I appreciate talking to everybody. I got to go. I got to close out the team here. I got 27 minutes left in the workday, and I got a lot to do.
We are too.
So
thank you for joining,
any last
Kevin.
comments there?
Thanks, Kevin.
I appreciate you. Thank you for joining. Appreciate
Cool.
you guys.
Yeah,
Thank you all so much. I'm with everyone long term. I promise.
I understand.
I'm not
Understand.
short right now. I just want to clarify that. All right, we'll see y'all. Thanks so much. Bye.
Thank you. Okay, well, let's go ahead and just summarize what happened today and final words. But basically, right, we got Elon saying that this is Robotaxi Unveil. We don't know yet if that means just the vehicle or maybe the whole program. I'm a little bit more convinced now that some of you were saying that maybe it's much more than just a vehicle. This is big news. This is probably the biggest news that we've heard. I think that I don't think that he just rolled it out because of today. I think that this is we were seeing the progress of FSD 12.3.3. That's not something you just kind of like. It's not just PR. This is real deal. We've known that they've been working on a robotaxi design since 2019. This is something that Franz has been working on forever, and we are coming to here we are so close. So I just can't see why anybody would not see this as being massive news. Let's go around the panel and get final words from each of you. Let's go with you, Jeff, first.
Yeah, I think we'll look back on this day and this quarter as this is the start of Tesla transitioning from a vehicle hardware company to a software services company. I think it's going to be important for Tesla to articulate that path and have some clarity around that. But this is monumental news, and I like the fact that there's a date out there, because that date is going to drive convergence. Both, we don't need to manage Tesla. I think Tesla knows how to manage Tesla. Elon knows how to do that. But more of actually convergence within the industry of like, are you going to partner? Are you going to get on board, or are you going to kind of sit back and watch this? Because I think Tesla should make it very clear, like the early adopters and the folks that get on board early are probably going to get the best deal. And everyone else will be kind of fighting for the scraps later. So I love the date. I love the convergence, and I love the different options that could be out there, from the business model, the app, the network, to the physical vehicle itself. Maybe there's a lot of different options of what this could be. So very exciting.
Okay, let's get with you, Alexandra. You're
I was
muted.
muted, and I was
There you go.
muted, and I was posting at the same time. So I wanted to quickly address why I think actually it was a little bit precipitated today, but this has been in the making. And I mean, while some of the stuff in the Reuters news this morning was clearly wrong, I don't think the compact car is gone. I just think it got deprioritized compared to Robotaxi, which got prioritized just because end-to-end neural net was working and was making the progress in record time, and so that shifted, and that obviously shifted. And if you look at the details they brought during the morning with February meetings and March meetings, this was boiling hot. This was getting more and more into the executives of Tesla, into the employees of Tesla. So it had to come out sooner or later, whether it was today because of the article or whether it was actually planned today. I mean, there's people saying, okay, it's now exactly 125 days to August the 8th. 1 + 2 + 5 makes 8. 8 + 8 makes 8. 2024 makes 2 + 2 + 4 makes 8. Everything makes 8. That's wonderful, wonderful, powerful number, lucky number. So it could have been always planned for today. The only thing that gives me a little bit grief in that theory is that we are in the quiet period, that usually nothing should have happened between the 15th of March and the 23rd of April. But I mean, here we are. It may have an impact on the stock already. It all they announced was obviously the date, but obviously we know how much is behind it now. So I couldn't be more excited, that that's the case. I don't believe any of that negative thinking about this has to be perfect and this has to be this and now all the risk comes and whatever. Yes, there will be challenges, and there will be challenges we will have to help with, and there are challenges that Tesla can overcome by themselves. But these robotaxis will drive better than the average human driver, and they will make our world a safer world, a better world. And this is the first day, and we'll remember this for a very, very long time. And I'm really
Wow.
happy I was able to live it
Share
with
it with
you.
us. Thanks. Xander, let's go with you next.
Oh man, I've been quiet for so long. You guys were just answering all of my thoughts that I have written down. So I guess I'll just use it to summarize and cut me off if I get too long-winded. But basically, first of all, I wanted to thank Meet Kevin for bringing like the sobering perspective and the debate. I think that is the important part to not get so blindly bullish that we think it's going back to the moon right away. Right. I think that his point about the PE and all of that, I think you guys covered it. You are going to have at some point a shift from a car company to an AI company, or however it's going to get classified. It's going to be more than just a car company, and I think that PE is much higher than what an automaker gets. So I think that the driving of the decision is the interest rate. I was going to ask you guys this question, whether the interest rates not going down has caused Elon to deprioritize making more cars, since no one is running out there buying cars, and that's declining. So that's a thought I had for putting the 25K car on the shelf and not doing Mexico. Other thoughts I had was, Robotaxi, I think Elon said, is not going to have the steering wheel. So there is maybe something to that, it's not going to be a car on, it'll be a car Unveil, but it won't be like we're producing, this year or next year, hundreds of thousands of units. But we don't know, right? How can you have a supervised FSD if the human can't intervene? But that's getting a little too specific. So the other thought was, Nick, you asked Kevin regarding his father-in-law. Well, my father-in-law is 84, and we got him into a Tesla because we were concerned about his age, and he test drove FSD here in my Model Y Performance in the mountains, and he got to feel it and he loved it. And now he can't drive at night. He's got an eye condition that's deteriorating, and he actually told my wife that he's thankful that we pushed him into a Tesla because he feels safer in it because it has his back, and all of him. So I think that the really, really important thing to understand is that this technology is being accelerated and put in the front, because like, remember Ashok saying that we're going to try to get this car to not get into any accidents, and remember that Elon saying that like, autonomy is grossly undervalued, Wall Street's missing it. So perhaps just a theory that today, with that article, it just pushed him to say, you know what, let's announce it, possibly, and then that accelerates the unbox process, right? Like, Wall Street's forgetting, they're just counting the number of cars, but they're not looking at all of the announcements made with Battery Day and AI Day and all of these things. Like, link it all together, and I think it's abundantly clear that at some point, you have to put the political aside, and you have to look at what the company is doing, not Elon posts or tweets or whatever you want to call them. That separation for me is the signal to noise that that allows me to just look at what is the stock doing, what is the sentiment, and is this a sentiment shifting moment? And for me, some of you might have noticed, I cracked open the one of 420 tequilas. I haven't tasted the tequila. I've been waiting for the moment, and I got to share it with you guys. So I shed a little tear because I'm so honored to be a part of this community, and thank you for letting me be a part of the show. And it's an incredible moment that people just won't understand. It doesn't mean anything to them, but for my family, we sold our houses, we put it all into Tesla, and then to have, I trusted Elon and his vision, and now it's coming true, right? He backs up what he says. He backs it up always, and that trust hasn't been broken for me with the political stuff. I understand it, and how important X is, and how important it is to free speech for me being an immigrant, and the ability to start a business in America, and to sit around and buy a Cybertruck and all of this stuff. Like, for some of us, it means a lot, and I'll leave it with that. Thank you, guys.
Mic drop. That was fantastic, Nick.
Oh, you just set me up for failure. How do I follow that? That was so
I
beautifully
know.
said. I mean, literally +1, +100 on all of that, Xander. That was especially on the community and being an immigrant and coming to this country. When you're not born in this country, I think you definitely, I don't know, there's just another level of appreciation for this country. I'll just say, from a technical perspective, I deal with companies trying to do AI internally in their companies every single day, trying to invent, create, find ways where they can say that their company's doing something in AI. I can tell you right now, there's only one company that I think anyone's really aware of that's doing a real AI project that's not just a large language model, and that's Tesla. And they're doing it across a huge domain, which is the entire world, in cars, in the most dangerous way. And we're not going to get there overnight. It's not going to be like one day, boom, it just happens. We have these incremental steps. Alexander, you just got done saying that, this was such a sentimental moment for you. Xander, you just talked about finally tasting that sweet, sweet tequila, right? But it wasn't that long ago, a month ago, we were saying the same thing about 12.3 or when everyone got the free trial, right? It's happening. And these things happen in steps. They're building blocks to get where we're going to get to. So, enjoy the ride, enjoy these moments. We will get there. It will happen. It won't happen overnight. And this is just the beginning. Can't, thank you enough, Herbert, for always inviting us and getting all these things together. I know it's a lot of work behind the scenes. So thank all of you. And yeah, I'll pass it on to CERN.
Thank you, Nick.
Well, it's hard to follow you guys. I'm not sure there's much more that needs to be said, except I find it interesting that we were all so worried about Elon's compensation plan and how that might impact them. And I know this group is not worried about how that impacts Elon's work ethic. But all the people out there that said that Elon is not focused on Tesla, he wants the stock to go down until his new comp plan is cut. We knew that that wasn't true. It's not about the money for Elon. That's clear. So just this development, I think, in the face of all that and all the other challenges that he and Tesla have faced, we finally have a bit of a date. Again, I don't think that August 8th is the start of a robotaxi network. It might be, but I doubt it. It's certainly the beginnings of it. And maybe it's human supervised for a while, right? And that's okay. It's progress. But make no mistake about it, what we are witnessing is the change of a business model from a company that makes cars and makes a little bit of money on those cars. They make cars very well, best auto manufacturer in the world, to a company that is going to be driven by using AI to do things in the real world. And cars is the first step in that, right? And the AI power, the auto bidder software on the energy side is also massively underappreciated. And then the humanoid bots. So this is just the beginning of breaking out the tequila. Xander, there's going to be many moments for you going forward, right? And also, it's true that the stock is going to have its ups and downs. This isn't to the moon. There's going to be ups and downs. That's just the way it works in investing. What a great time to be alive.
Exactly. And what a good time to be together. We got so much heat. You got so much heat. I remember some of the discussions you had these last couple of weeks. You got blocked. I got blocked from people just, whenever and I mean, to be finally here and be able to say, look, it's coming. It's not a pipe dream. It is exactly what has been announced. It just needed to be put in place. I mean, I could cry. I'm so emotional today. I love this. I just absolutely love it. It doesn't mean that there are not many other things coming. I mean, I tell you all the time about so many things we still have to be mobilized about, but this is really, a key moment. And please, let's not forget it, because it's good to be happy.
Okay.
Agreed.
Thank you guys very much. Appreciate it. Everybody, appreciate it. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Herbert.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Thank you,
Herbert.
Everybody.